Hello there. It seems that you've been tasked with an operation this time. You've been keeping it up for at least 3 days so far, going your 4th day. I'm impressed. But can you actually succeed in accomplishing the task of ranking all these monster girls? At this point, you might be the interspecies reviewer, but who knows? Perhaps it was in the cards after all. We'll see exactly how it's gonna play out for you. Accomplish this mission, and you'll be rewarded handsomely. Fail, and at least you'll still walk away with some pride intact. Is that okay with you, Blue Shift? We'll see. We'll see soon enough. It's time for you to commence day 4. And do be gentle. Because they won't. So, welcome everybody. We're here for the day 4 of the Monster ranking stream. And hopefully it's been a very enjoyable process for everybody, including myself. I've been having the most fun, and I've been having the most fun in my entire life with as a streamer. I don't care if there's not that many views. I don't care if there's not that much interaction. As long as like everybody is having a good old time with it, as long as I'm feeling satisfied with it, I'm doing gangbusters in this perspective. But without further ado, we're going to be getting things set up, and we're going to be ready to go with a lot more stuff in the pipeline. And on Twitter, I did kind of introduce a proposition, or not really a proposition, but an idea of doing a Digimon ranking stream under the same vein as like the Moscow ranking streams. But it'll be more like on cool factor to some degree, with some Digimon here and there. I was initially thinking of doing like a Smash or Pass, but after thinking about it, there's a lot of Digimon to really go around. That's all I'm going to say. There's a lot. There's a fucking lot. But in any case, I plan on doing that for next month. Next month will be a good time in order to do that, because doing like 2 ranking streams in 1 month would be a little bit overkill. So just kind of space things out. It'll be a little bit better for me to kind of get things prepped up and hold on. Kind of get something organized a little bit better. And I'm mostly going to have to do it by type anyway, because again, there's so much. There's so many Digimon, and there's so many different types that it just has like a full compendium. So, yeah, let me pop out chat first, so it'll be easier to interact with y'all. And I never really had any doubts that the ranking stream was going to be bad, so to speak. I knew that I had to set some boundaries here and there, so it'll be as inoffensive as possible. There might be some times where I autopilot reading stuff, but I've been very good on making sure not to say one of the hard R words. That shouldn't be too much of an accomplishment here and there, but yeah, that's the breaks. But today we're going to be starting off with the Jirogumo. Let me open up stream elements so I can have the music ready. But I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning, a wonderful week so far. It's almost the weekend. We're on to Friday, baby, Friday. So let me get things set up. And let's switch. The Strangers in Paradise. It looks like so much of a meme, but I've been hearing so many good things about the game too. Like the fact that it does use like Neo's combat does help it in a great degree, because Neo definitely experimented with a different kind of combat style that really set it apart from like Souls-like games. And how it translated over to something like Final Fantasy is beyond me. But then again, Final Fantasy 16 is being done by the same director of Devil May Cry 5. Okay. Jirogumo. A bug-type monster and a variety of arachne that inhibits the Zapanga region. Aside from living those in forested areas, there are many that change into human form and live in human settlements. That seems to be a common thing with Zipangu region monster girls. They can transform into human at will. Normally they have a gentle disposition, which is rare among the bad-tempered arachne, and few of them assault people against their will. They are friendly toward humans, especially toward men who are their type. They seduce them by flirting with an attitude akin to that of a prostitute. So like a geisha. From what is written above, it would seem like they're not very dangerous monsters, but this is only their face during the daytime. At nighttime, their disposition is very different. They are very proficient in the art of seducing. They approach men with their day face, and men who are seduced by them during the day will be overjoyed to have them at their side, believing them to be devoted and beautiful. But upon spending a night together, when the sun sets, they reveal the night faces. At night, they are even more ferocious than other Arachne family monsters. They bind those with their threads created by their body and given to their sadistic nature, unilaterally forcing a man repeatedly until the break of dawn, or until they pass out from exhaustion. When sun comes up, they return to their gentle day face, but most who have been with them will be emasculated and will keep getting ravished by them night after night. If one still has the willpower to resist even after tasting their night face and is confident about their stamina, then they should have sex with them while they're in their gentle day face and conversely unilaterally attack them. If one keeps this up every day, eventually masochism will take root in their heart, and the time they spend showing their night face will gradually reduce. Instead, the time they spend showing their day face will rapidly grow longer. Furthermore, just like the Arachne, they build nests using the threads produced by their body, and beside that, they are proficient at sewing. Clothes made from their own thread are high-grade products due to both material and craftsmanship. They sell in the marketplace for extremely high sums. So, if you are indeed that motherfucker that just let things happen, you're gonna get dominated. But if you are a Chad, no matter who you are, you show them what's what. And on top of that, their gentler disposition will show a lot more if you keep being that dominant character. So, this is definitely S rank. Right off the bat, we are going strong. We are going strong. Next up is the Jujube. Jube or Jub. And I might be eating a little bit in the middle of it, so don't mind me. Got some leftover Patsy ear from last night. Some good Thai food, man. I have had Thai food in a long time. All right, this one saved the show. A variety of harpies unique to Wonderland that are said to have always been in heat. The progenitor of this race was a harpy of the original kind who was altered when the Queen of Hearts cast a spell to make her constantly in heat. All throughout the year, after she got fed up with how harpies don't bother to attack men unless in season. Man, the Queen of Hearts is really a bitch. A really sexually frustrated bitch. They retain the friendly personality of the harpy, however their heads are full of nothing but thoughts of copulating with others. And they are said to be full of sexual desire from birth. As soon as they become consciously aware, they begin to seek others, and lust continues to build up inside them to a degree that would drive them crazy if not for them being monsters. Because of this, their organs from sensing the odor and mana of a human are extremely developed. It seems everyone knows it soon after a single person wanders into Wonderland because the Jubes become boisterous. Their genitalia are constantly dripping with secretions, and as soon as they spot someone, they will charge at full speed and leap upon the individual and attempt to copulate in a state of maximum arousal. Most of the harpy family have petite bodies that are light and flexible, specialized for flight, but they have soft bodies that are specialized for feeling nice when embraced rather than flight. They have enlarged breasts, which are inappropriate for their petite body. Their wings are also prioritize beauty over flight, and their fluffy plumage is specialized to make one feel nice when having their body wrapped around in their wings. But they have a difficulty for flying for long periods of time. For that reason, they have a habit of treating the individual who becomes their partner as their perch. They take the lower regions and hold it deep inside the vagina and wrap their legs around. They take their lower regions and hold it deep inside the vagina and wrap their legs around to affix to their body. And they try to live like that they're constantly joined. Whether sleeping or moving, they try not to separate from their partner, and they only do when they have no choice but to fly or when laying eggs. Even being separated for just a short period of time will turn them half crazed. And when coupling together once more, so that they will not be separated again, they'll slam their hips vigorously against the person again and again and again, as if they beat their own cervix to get that shape. Also, if they have jittery personalities, if their hips itch, they'll adjust their position, and since they'll frequently and persistently try to readjust, take it even deeper, pulling back with their hips and then thrusting it deep inside again. Their partner will often release essence inside them when visited by sudden and unexpected pleasure. They will smash you to oblivion. They will just destroy your pelvis just for the sake of it. Most men will be bewildered by them, but as they become tainted by life in Wonderland, eventually being joined at the hip with the jub, and feeling that pleasure will become a natural thing. Conversely, such individuals will become unable to calm down without it. As long as someone's with a jub, they will be able to maintain an erection or a feeling of heat indefinitely. They'll even start grabbing at the hips and shaking them, actively pouring their desire inside them. Furthermore, there's a theory that the origin of their name comes from a variant of a wet jupu. The wet sound is jupu that they're always making, but the truth is uncertain. So they are extremely clingy. Very, very clingy to the point where it's impossible to separate from them. And if you try to get away from them, just for a little bit of breathing room, you are gonna get attacked again and again, and they will never let you go. But it gets really hot and heavy with them, so I don't know. There's a lot more to play around with. I'd say this is an A. Now let me go to wrong one. Let's switch back because I know the next one is just actually bearing it all. Now we're in the K territory, and we have the Kakuen. If it cooperates. Yep. Yep. The Kakuen. Monkey beast men native to the Mistcontinent. They have a bit of a Wukong design going right now. They form troops and live deep in mountains. They can freely leap about trees with their light bodies and dexterous hands and feet. They use their long tails for maintaining balance in the treetops, and other than that, they can use it to hang by wrapping around branches, and they also specialize in performing martial arts using their durable tail. Outside of all the beastmen, they are regarded as being closer to human, and they have extremely high intelligence. Nevertheless, they have a rough disposition and an arrogant, selfish personality. Prioritizing their own desires, they often treat humans with a disparaging attitude. On the other hand, they are highly lustful and curious. When breeding season comes around, they become very interested in bodies of humans and mating, and they will kidnap and violate them. They are cunning due to their high intellect, and when dealing with a human who strikes a fancy, they won't flatter him, instead assuming a teasing attitude. They'll press their target when they feel like mating, but they have a difficult time enduring pleasure So it is said that once they learn what feels good, they just repeat that again and again and again. If they mate with a human even once, their mind becomes obsessed with it. They end up spending all day on top of humans, constantly shaking their hips like a monkey. What's more, those individuals who become interested in a specific human will masturbate while thinking of that person, regardless of whether they've actually made it or not. They'll think about that individual whenever they have a free moment and inch in their hands towards their lower abdomen tail, proceeding to make lots of wet noises. After learning the taste of their partner with their body in this manner, they become a prisoner of the pleasure and are completely unable to control their insatiable lust and desire, becoming exactly like a monkey in heat. Just from being around their partner, their lust swells up as their body seeks pleasure, and they'll become unable to think of anything but mating with their husband. Even being touched or catching their scent will cause them to become unable to control their lust and leap toward their partner and mate with them. After ending up like this, no matter how smart they are, they're still monkeys after all. So if one successfully alludes to mating and pleasure, it'll make it easier to control. It'll be easy for someone to take charge both in life and sex. While living with them for a while, the person, just like them, will gradually become unable to endure lust and pleasure. They'll end up leading a hedonistic lifestyle, going at it like monkeys. How'd that song go again? How'd that one song go again? I like do it like we do it on Discovery Channel. Yeah, that's the song. That's the song. It'll be much like the same for a human woman living among the troop as well, and she'll become progressively unable to control her increasing lust. She'll start to smile in a lascivious manner, exuding carnal passion. Then her body and heart will change into a Kakuin. They are not a race that is at all adept converting human women into monsters, nor do they excel at manipulating demonic energy, and yet it is easy for monsterization to occur. It is said that they could easily influence humans because their demonic energy is highly compatible with humans, but according to another explanation, susceptibilities to pleasure and lack of self-control, such as what they exhibit, is something that originally inborn as humans as well. So because humans and Kakuin are closely related, if a human crosses a certain line, they can easily fall as a monkey. I am pretty sure this is, if I go by also design 2, I'll say Kakuins are an A.
I'll register that as a new quest on the list.
I'll say they're an A. They certainly aren't gentle, but they are certainly also probably a handful of fun. Alright, Kamitachi. And I can show this safely. It can and will go very wrong with a jub. Because they'll pretty much fly off the handle from the touch. They'll fly way off the handle. It's just a matter of can you handle them when they're at that point, which is almost constantly. a race of beast monsters that inhabit the Zapanga region. They're said to move at blindingly fast speeds and appear along a whirlwind. They have the power to generate wind with sickles made from hardened parts of their fur covering their arms. Their biggest distinguishing characteristic is that they always act together as a trio. And they even form a trinity when going after and attacking humans. Each of the three has different special characteristics when they spot a man or spot someone else. First, the one with the most strength springs at them and knocks them down, sealing their movement. The winds generated by the heavy dull sickles are heavy winds that cause shockwaves that blow away their opponent. Even a hulking behemoth would fall to the ground before those winds, and end up being straddled and pinned down by her. Next one, with the sharpest sickles, uses her wind to slash up the body and the clothing that is in the way. Just as their sickles are the sharpest, the winds generated also the sharpest of the three. For instance, even if one was wearing armor, they'll be torn to shreds, and their body would receive countless lacerations. These wounds do not hurt or even bleed, but the parts that were cut would feel hot and start throbbing. Then, after that, the one with the most dexterous fingers rubs medicine into the man's lacerations in a gentle manner. The gentle winds generated by her small, dull sickles gently caress the individual's bare skin, thereby alleviating their fear and tension, providing a sense of ease. Due to those winds, not only one's body is bound, but even their heart loses the will to resist and ends up simply accepting the medicine that she rubs into their body. This medicine, a secret medicine handed down among the Kamitachi, is made from a concentration of demonic energy by the three of them. When it's rubbed directly into one's flesh and blood through lacerations, one's body is transformed into the appropriate one for a male Kamitachi. In other words, it becomes so that he recognizes the Kamitachi as the most attractive females. And in addition to causing an irresistible biological urge to reproduce with them, since Kamitachi are fundamentally a trinity, the sexual urges toward them desire to ejaculate will not subside until he fires semen in all three of them. And then, at last, the three attack the man all at once and copulate, tasting and sucking the man's body as they please, taking turns straddling him. Since they always act together as a trio, they always appear as a perfectly coordinated trinity. They can instinctively divide duties among themselves in an optimal manner. This goes without saying when fighting an enemy or assaulting someone, but even when it comes to sex and pleasing their husband, they can offer 3 weasels worth of love and pleasure. What would be 3 weasels? It still sounds a little bit on the small side, but hey. Additionally, the 3 of them do more than just swarm their husband. For example, while one is having sex, the other 2 may get dinner done and finish preparing the bath, so they can also be seen in a manner befitting of a Zapanga monster. Furthermore, each of them will get pregnant at the same time and give birth to triplets. So 3 for... Oh god, that's a lot of children. That's 3 from each of them. No matter what the circumstances. Mysteriously, there are also times when 3 individuals with different parents will meet and take a liking to the same man. Much concerning the reproduction of these monsters is a mystery. So you're gonna have a lot of kids on your hands. A lot of kids. You might as well just be running a freaking daycare center at that point. Definitely hope your wild's deep. You can't run away from them because they'll just hunt you down. They will hunt you down, and not even the most wealthy not even the wealthiest person in the world can pay off the child support that could come from the Kamitachi trio, mind you. But the big thing that really turns me off is that you start becoming a Kamitachi yourself and you only see them. You only see that particular race as attractive. What's good, Denzel? And it's no worries, man. Take it easy, and I'll try to provide as much entertainment as possible and not to be as distracting as possible too. But yeah. The thing is that you have like a complete package no matter what. And they just don't stand idly by either. The fact that they just cook and clean for you while you're just doing the deed with like maybe one of them, they know their shit is like very well knit. They have a system in place, and it's pretty much instilled through them all throughout their life. Heck, I'm pretty sure even one of them would work like a high-end paying job and they'll be the breadwinner, and they'll still beat the brakes off of you at the end of the day. Would it be worth it? I think it would. I think it would. So this is an A. I just don't like the fact that they attack you, first of all, with their fucking sickles, their blade arms, or scythes, whatever. And Kappa. Make sure to type in all lowercase. An aquatic type monster that inhabits watery areas like marshes and rivers through the land of Zapangu. Its form is close to human, but it has green skin and carries a round dish-like object on top of their head. They also have a shell and webbed feet, allowing it to swim effortlessly. Most of them are mischievous and have strong-willed personality, but they aren't violent. They aren't very violent. Kappa children often intermingle and play with human children. They especially like to play a popular game in Zapangu called Sumo, which involves pushing one's opponent out of a ring, or pushing one's opponent down. Compared to human girls, their bodies are far more robust, and their mighty strength can even pin boys down. But don't let yourself be fooled. They are monsters, and as far as they are concerned, the children they meet are just future marks. Thus, through their socialization with human children, they unconsciously decide who they will have as their husband or wife. Even when they push boys down and pin them down during sumo, they experience a powerful arousal that they cannot quite understand themselves. The devilish nature is unconsciously awaiting the future when they pin down a man or woman in the same way. They will have sex with them. Once they've grown a certain amount, the lust suddenly swells greatly. They will go into heat and assault the individual they targeted during childhood in an attempt to force intercourse. Additionally, while their body is wet, their physical abilities increase, and when their scales that appear like clothing get wet, they squeeze their body, producing arousal and increasing lust. So they are extremely dangerous when they're near the water. If they sight their mark approaching the water's edge, they will drag him in and immediately initiate sexual intercourse. One must be very cautious. It's almost like the actual trivia of the Kappa. The dishes they carry in their head are always wet with water. The dish is their weak point. If it dries up, not only will they lose strength, but they'll become extremely sensitive to stimulation. Touch that area, and she'll no longer be able to move. The Kappa strongly prefer the vegetable known as the cucumber. That sounds like a very odd thing, but it's very normal. Especially when they are very little, and they're often seen as with a cucumber in their mouth. According to one explanation, it may be that rather than the taste, it has more to do with the shape of the cucumber, which they're instinctively drawn to due to their devilish nature. It is also said that the Kappa during childhood may especially prefer cucumbers because it's something they can practice with or when they have sex with a man in the future. I mean, this is just kind of basic. Yeah, it's a scarf. The avatar I have is it has a scarf on. Yeah, Kappas are definitely B tier. They're just B for basic at this point. But the fact that they mark you from childhood is kind of crazy enough. It's like, hey, you want to play sumo? But I don't want to hurt you. Hey, don't worry, I'm strong as an ox. Next thing you know, they pin you down, and they just give you those eyes, like, in the future, you
what you're gonna do. And then just get off of you, go back to the water, say goodbye, and they just wait for years. Until finally, when you reach the ripe age of 21, then they'll chase after you. God forbid if you live by the lakeside. God forbid if you live by the lakeside. Because I think the actual mythology behind the kappa is that they usually dwell in like bathrooms or so. They believe that there's an egg whenever someone is sitting down in the bathroom. So they try to reach out and pull you through that toilet or through the whatever body of water that you're trying to do your business in. Yeah, they pull your spirit out from your ass. Because it resembles the egg on top of their head. Or whatever kind of dish they have in their head. Alright, we can move on to the next one. The Karakasa Obake. Yep, we can't show that. Not on this Christian channel. Alright, let's get this on the side. The Karakasa Obake are a race with the form of a large umbrella that were once tools used by human. This is a common thing when you see Obake in their name. Basically, it's a ghost. They become monsters after gaining life and sentience from absorbing enough demonic energy over time. The Karakasa are also referred to as Tsukumogami, a type of monster that used to be tools but gained life of their own. They have a strong desire to be used by humans. I think we've read this before. As original form and purpose was mainly used for rainy days, the strong desire to serve their owners changed their bodies into that of a beautiful young woman, so that they may be useful in more ways than one. In different situations, they believe that every part of their bodies is to be used in service of their owner as pleasing them. It's the greatest joy they can receive. Even in stimulation they receive is only slight. To the Karakasa, it's magnified greatly, often surprising their owner at responses they give in return. Beneath the umbrella canopy, there's an organ similar to a giant tongue which they will use often when they think servicing their owner, using it to seize and draw them close. A lubricating fluid that increases their response to stimulation is secreted from their tongue. By looking the owner at their body, they generate even deeper pleasure, further pleasing themselves and their owner. Once the Karakasa closes her umbrella, it will repel not just rain, but even swords and magic, creating a world just for her and her owner that bars all intrusion. Ooh, they have a defense field. That's nice. In that confined space with just two bodies, glued together, the only thing one would be able to see is the alluring body of the Karakasa. And the only thing they could do in response is give in to desire and use them. For repeatedly using them, the owner would become a prisoner of the pleasure they can bring. Just as the Karakasa Obake desires, the owner will then end up being in the same umbrella with them repeatedly, continuously using them relentlessly. The Karakasa Obake and their owners every day will become full of happiness and ecstasy, a routine that will become difficult to change. Although they no longer have any relation to the weather, their bodies still recognize rainy days as a day when they can be used, causing them to strongly throb with desire. Those who become Tsukumogami are, after being handled with care, repay their owner's kindness with more than sexual favors. And wait. Let me read that a little bit. Pace better. Those who become Tsukumogami, after being handled with care, repay their owner's kindness with more than sexual favors. They often devotedly provide other services by taking care of their daily needs. The Karakasa Obake, who are treated poorly, have the same devoted personality but attack men more frequently, out of fear of being neglected, often attacking the owner with such frequency that it becomes pathological psychosis. That is obsession. It's a don't let me go kind of thing, but it's ramped up to such a great degree that it's borderline dangerous. No, it's actually dangerous. So you will not survive. They get lonely when they feel their owners are not using them enough and will seek and capture them within their umbrella, locking them both in a world of their own. See, again, pay attention to your items well, treat them right, and when the obakes take form, you'll know exactly whether you can clear the condition or not. And if you haven't cleared the condition or you went to the bad end route, say goodbye. But they offer a lot of properties. And the fact that this article is very neutral up until like the very end. I mean, think of what that tongue does. Think of what that tongue does. Oh, girl, what that tongue do? The myriad of wonderful things. So this is definitely an S. All right. The Keijoru. My God. Okay. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I feel like I'm gonna be setting myself for something else though, but hey. Let's take a look at the Keijoru. Monsters peculiar to the Zapanga that clad themselves in a voluptuous atmosphere that stands out. They have an appearance close to that of humans, but they have long, beautiful hair with an alluring charm that is inhuman. Yeah, I'm a sucker for long hair. Many of them slip into human settlements and live there. Aside from appearing before meant for those they like, they also sometimes blend in among human prostitutes. Their hair is full of sex appeal and magical energy, and has the power to bewilder those who are captured by their charm. Their alluringly fluttering hair captivate. The fact that there's no commas just kills me. Captivates their eyes, and fragrance that softly floats in the fragrance that softly floats from their tickles the nostrils, charming them. Their hair is alluring to men, and maybe women too, who will unwittingly experience desire and arousal. They can freely manipulate this hair, and they can make it coiled around and cover one's entire body. If bundled, their hair feels like silk of the highest grade, and being caressed by it causes an attack of pleasure that seems to coil around the body. If they seize the lower region with their hair, it's unbearable, and it'll spread out fluids and end up sullying the beautiful hair. Their hair is also their essence absorption organism, and by sipping essence after one ejaculates, its alluring charm increases even more and becomes even more beautifully fascinating. As it grows more and more attractive, those become so enthralled that they can't even say that becomes a primary focus of their attention. They'll start to run their fingers through their hair and stroke it whenever they are free to do so, and ultimately they want to put their face in their hair and sniff the fragrance all day long. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's some sort of demonic organ that allows them to experience so much pleasure and delivers so much senses that it will immediately make you horny. Their hair can experience sense such as taste and touch for the sake of enjoying the body. When they feel that the beloved is touching their hair and putting their face in it, they experience ecstasy. And if bodily fluids is released into their hair, the taste of the fluids staining each and every strand of hair is followed by a dreamlike rapture and a sensation as if they're being dominated by one's fluids. Also, if their hair coils around the body, enveloping it completely, a feeling of relief and ecstasy engulfs the individual, as if their entire body is gently being embraced. If one has sex in the state and ejaculates inside them, one can obtain pleasure far beyond that of normal ejaculation, and the pleasure grows more potent in proportion to the degree one is fixated on their hair. They have a custom of cutting a lock of their hair and handing it over as proof of fidelity to their partner they recognize as their partner, as their betrothed. That would be a better way of putting it. Even though the cut hair is only a small part, it has enough power to bewilder someone, and desire of those who accept it will swell day by day. Eventually, the individual will end up visiting the owner of their hair to have their way with her. Even if they hadn't directly accepted hair for them, men or women sometimes will find the cut hair coiling around them even before they realize it. Then if the man or woman sees them for the first time, they'll never be able to run from their love, which coils around them and won't let go, just like their hair. Okay, so it's basically Milia Rage or Bayonetta. They have absolute control of the hair. They can wrap you around it. I'm pretty sure they give you enough breathing room, so but they look so beautiful. They have such magnificent beauty that it's just ridiculous. Hey, I'm down. I'm down. But the weird thing is that the thing is that the hair is still kind of living, and the fact that they've cut their hair, just a small strand will just wrap around you. It just feels weird. It just feels like something straight out of the fucking Grudge. It just feels like something straight out of the fucking Grudge. That's what it feels like. But at the same time, Sadako do make me acting up though. Yeah, hair is technically living, but not like full on it'll sneak around you living. So A tier. A tier at best. I was gonna go with S tier, but the moment I kept thinking about that last bit, it just made me reconsider that. The next one, no go. I can't see it from a distance, so I'll double check. Yep, that's a no-go. Yep, that's definitely a no-go. No-go and head pat. Next thing is the Kepri. Oh. This looks like it has some sort of symbiotic relationship with dark matters. All right, let me see. Yep, that's a bug. All right. Golden Scare. Wait. Oh, let me also adjust the volume so it's. Golden Scarabs that live in groups in the ruins of the desert region. They appeared out of nowhere in the ruins. Abandoned after losing their original master, the pharaoh, and started living there unnoticed. They excel at manipulating demonic energy and they have a habit of gathering the demonic energy released by monsters normally during sex, rolling it into a spherical form, carrying it around, and storing it in the ruins of their home. When a human enters the ruins, they rush him in a big group and drag him away into the king's bedroom. Oh, what hospitality. The man carried off to the bedroom will end up having sex with each and every member of the group of Kepri, one after another. Question is how many of them. While receiving their passionate hospitality, on this occasion they will pour all the balls of demonic energy they saved up just for this day into the man one by one. Due to this, the man's body and lust or stamina are restored and activated. No matter how much he has sex with them, he never feels tired, never loses his direction, and never runs out of energy. Man, they just keep... It's just pill after pill, pretty much. The man who is shrouded in plenty of their demonic energy through sex receives the balls of vast amounts of demonic energy within the body, and ends up gradually changing into extremely powerful incubus. Even a man who just keeps getting ravished by them and tossed about by the otherworldly pressure in the beginning will eventually seek them out on his own, ravish them and command them to have sex with him instead of getting ravished by them, as he becomes more powerful as an incubus. By the time that all of the Khepri have learned of the taste of the man who will be their master, the situation is the opposite of the way that it was in the beginning. They will be at the mercy of the man's infinite lust and become prisoners of the pleasure and essence given to them by the man. In this way, the kings of the Khepri are born on the vacant thrones. After obtaining a king to serve, they fully display their original devoted disposition. They end up serving him with all their hearts, waiting on him hand and foot, feeding him and attending him throughout the night, as servants, soldiers, and wives to the king. The man who becomes king will end up living in the ruins that were adjusted by them to be more comfortable, eating home-cooked feasts that they poured all their love into, and having sex with the Khepri as much as he wants, whenever he feels like it. It's their pleasure to serve and work for the king, especially when they are chosen as a king's sexual partner and their body is desired. That's what makes them happier and more ecstatic than anything else. Their goal is the same as one of the pharaohs, the restoration of the formerly lost kingdoms. The area around the ruins where a king was born will change into a demon realm, but it's said that whether it will change into a bright green demon realm from the king performing his duties as a statesman even while making love with them day after day, or a dark demon realm from the king drowning in their bodies in devotion and spending every day indulging in sex without restraint, depends on the man chosen as king. So if you are the chosen one, and you go at it with these Khepri, you will be treated as royalty. If that's how we're kind of shaking it, you will be treated as royalty. So I guess this might be a safe A. Yeah, safe A. All right, next up's Kikimora. Oh. A type of beastmen that serve humans and receive essence as a reward. They mainly appear in the homes of working men and waiting on them hand and foot while assisting them. They have a devoted and gentle disposition. It's their pleasure to treat the man or whoever they find with their heart that they have their heart set out as their master and serve them. They're highly capable and can perfectly complete any kind of housework, including cooking, laundry, and even cleaning. Being sensitive to the subtleness of human emotion, just from appearances, they can tell their master's food preferences and personal tastes, even if they don't directly tell them. They can even read their mood and physical condition that day. They perform optimal and conscientious service in accordance with that. They can even grasp how much lust is pent up, and if their master wants, they use their own body to perform obscene services and satisfy them at any given time. Someone who becomes their master can live comfortably with peace of mind. Due to their support, they'll be able to exhibit their own abilities to the further extent. That's already broken. That is already broken. They basically don't personally assault or tempt men, or tempt others. They also don't seek sexual gratification if their master doesn't want it. They give off pure and beautiful aura while working for the sake of their master. However, even if one goes a while without laying a finger on them after becoming their master, we can say for certain, after living together, eventually they'll be driven by a bestial lust into wanting to defile the beauty with their own hands. It's unclear whether these desires stem from their masters themselves or there's something that they cause, but will be unable to bear it, and will put their hands on these beautiful servants and have sex with them. Even though they don't normally reveal their monstrous nature, they are full-fledged monsters. The monster's body is designed to service and satisfy their master once they get a taste, and they'll be hooked. Their master will start putting hands on all over them, even when they're working, but even after their master becomes an animal, they'll never put up any resistance. If ordered to service them, they'll make their tongue crawl around their lower regions in a static expression. But they got long-ass tongues too. If suddenly push down, the glide off their body and receive it. To them, it's unsurpassable bliss to offer their body to the beloved master and have them use it. They seek out those who are serving for life, who are worth serving for life. They prefer diligent workers, but because of their innate officious nature, many of them can't let the guys or gals who lead lazy and unhygienic lives go. Wait, what? Many of them can't let the guys who lead lazy or unhygienic lives go. So they prefer someone that actually gets their shit together. Even in that case, their devotion is unwavering. In order to correct one's lifestyle, they'll briskly take care of every need. However, in what may be a vestige from the age of the former demon lords, when they had a habit of viewing the lazy as prey and devouring them alive, they will show the face of their monstrous nature more strongly than usual. They'll take care of them. They'll take care of one's towering, pent-up sexual urges when waking them up early in the morning. And after delicious and healthy and nourishing meals at night in the bedroom, when they are going to bed early, an orderly life will be frequently interspersed with lewd service and nightly sex. While living in that manner, they'll raise the individual into an imposing succubus worthy of being their master. Well, that was quite a turnaround. Furthermore, they once had legs and they had wings and legs like a harpy, but they said they changed into human arms and legs so they could provide more thorough and diligent service. Their feathered wrists and scale-covered feet are vestiges of that as well. I say this is an S+. For sure. An S+. Alright, Kisune Bai. Alright, Kisune B. This is a tough one to pin. But they are spirits, so their body shape just is kind of hard to really pinpoint. A monster covered in wavering flames. Wait, this is actually safe. Well, no, never mind. I don't want to take the risk. A monster covered in wavering flames possessing the characteristics of a fox. They're born when vast amounts of condensed demonic energy and excessive lust from either Yoko or Inari takes shape and changes into a monster, so they're close to elementals. Lots of them live near Yoko and Inari with many tails. As for Inari, in the same way they use the demonic energy, they don't produce Kisune B without thinking it though. But just as Yoko are always scattering around demonic energy, in the same way they produce large amounts of Kisune B and release them nearby. That which compromises them exists at the foundation of fox monsters. They are clumps of pure, powerful desire. For that reason, soon after they're born, the only thing they're conscious of is the powerful urge to have sex with men and indulge in pleasure in essence. They don't have a distinct consciousness or sense of self as individuals. For that reason, the only things compelling their behavior are the desires I want to get off and I want essence. It follows that they're probably trying to force themselves onto others. However, after the first time having sex with humans, the changes become apparent. After actually touching and tasting one's body, they start to feel affectionate towards that peculiar individual. The desires, which were vague before, then become more concrete. New desires on the way to pleasure or essence also emerge, and they begin to grasp the concept of choosing a particular individual and becoming a couple. The lust for sex, which is the foundation of their being, also changes into something more concrete at the same time. They will grow bigger, stronger, and even more lascivious. They were a vague concept of demonic energy, but by having sex with an individual, they gain a fixed existence as an individual monster, females. Also, Kitsune who don't have men or partners are vague existences, so it's easy for them to be tied with the desire of human women, so they try to possess and fuse with them. Women possessed by them are called Kitsune Suki. It's said that they transform into monsters whose body and heart are both ruled by the fox's desire. Additionally, there is no difference between Kitsune produced by Yoko or Inari. The disposition and lustfulness is exactly the same. Though both races have different natures and dispositions, from this point, the enormity of their lust is the same in either case, so we can say the true essence of both races is the same thing. I'm probably thinking of like a B tier. Nothing really outstanding. Nothing that really stands out in a particular way that seems interesting, but hey. So let me take a peek at the kobold. Yeah, kobold, I'm gonna put a nice little no-go. iPad. Alright, Kitsune Suki, on the other hand. Let me take a few bites of food before I go.
Register that as a new list.
There's some different stuff. For some reason, the patty you didn't come with eggs. So I just made them this morning. Hey, take advantage of the option. I make use of it. Otherwise, it's just gonna be like the first days with me and my sexy ass voice. Oh, gently. Tea with food will always be a good combination. It helps with digestion too. That's the best part about it. Alright. Kitsune Suki. Human women who were possessed by Kitsune and became monsters. Their consciousness and memories from when they were human are preserved, and they still look for the same. They still look the same as humans, but the fox's desire swells within them, in their hearts and bodies. So they change into alluring women with a fascinating sex appeal, who are lustful like the fox monsters. Women possessed by Kitsune B experience small changes at first, such as an interest in sex and a preference for meat and fried tofu. That's a very specific thing. They also become very aggressive towards men. Afterwards, gradually, whenever they look at a man, they feel a need for something, and the body throbs. They start having dirty thoughts, and before long, their lust swells up, and they start to strongly yearn for a man. At the same time, their appearance and personalities change, enabling them to charm and tempt men. They end up having a voluptuous atmosphere, just like a Yoko or Inari. They gain joy and self-confidence as they change to attractive women this way. So no matter how timid and shy the woman was originally, she'll be able to arouse and ignite men's desire with their words and mannerisms, to easily imprison and have sex with the man right after. I am doing customs, but I'm probably going to do that sometime next week. And just do some upgrades. Well, upgrades and maybe some... I don't know if I might be doing another build in a while. Alright, normally the Kitsune lives lustfully according to desire, polishing their charm and lasciviousness. They end up as Yoko like Kitsune. Unfortunately, the game doesn't have the dagger, so I can't really do that. Like, unless if you want me to do it with, say, a GM, then that's the only way I could probably go about it. But other than that, it's an impossibility. Like, if I had the mobile game, yes, I could probably do it, but no. Not with Gunner Breaker 3. The catalog is too dated. Nope. The game was released sometime in 2017 or so. So whatever was released before or during that point was the only thing that's going to be there. Anything after that's nothing's not possible. Like, there is Pale Rider, but I can't really do much after that. GM's number 2, no. Okay. Yeah, especially lots of these kinds of Kisunosuke around high-rank Yoko. They're part of the debauchery produced by Yoko. On the other hand, the shrine maidens of the Inari cult that worships Inari as god sometimes have themselves changed to the Kisunosuke directly by an Inari as a way of getting closer to the Inari. In this case, they are trained and educated thoroughly by the Inari so that their body and heart grow accustomed to the Inari's desire and demonic energy. Yeah, that's kind of fucked that they only have the rifle but never the kit itself. So I'm pretty sure they had something in the works, but it was too late for them to really implement it, even as DLC. So that's pretty much the breaks. It sucks. Alright, they end up as Inari like Kisunosuke that have two faces, or an dignified lady. The source of Kitsune B has nothing to do with this change in disposition. For example, suppose some reason Inari's demonic energy went out of control and formed as Kitsune B, and Kisunosuke was born from it in place unknown to Inari. In that case, the Kisunosuke would live according to the fox's desire, going to be almost completely like a Yoko. Many Kisunosuke spend their lives as Kisunosuke. However, although it's extremely rare, in the case of individuals who are originally powerful by nature, or those who had sex with a man countless times and so a vast amount of demonic energy, Yoko like Kisunosuke have transformed into Yoko, and Inari like Kisunosuke that have transformed into Inari. Jeez, what a twister. As you can see fox-like ears and tails in this illustration of the Kisunosuke, but normally humans are unable to see them. Only those who can see them are they themselves, and the men who are like objects of their love and desire that have sex with them. Changes that occur after becoming Kisunosuke just makes the woman look a bit peculiar to other people. So the ones who will ever know their true nature are the prisoners, and the men who have been defanged. For that reason, even if they dwell in human settlements found in regions that are hostile to monsters, many of them spend their days indulging in pleasure and they love, and the love they share with their husbands, with those around being none the wiser. So you will never know if they're Kisunosuke outside of their outward beauty. And if you do the deed with them, then you'll start seeing their traits. I thought I was going to be a bit more enraptured by them, but that's a B. Alright, on to the next one. Oh, and I forgot to show, since it was kind of safe. Yeah. Alright, next up is the Kraken. It's Crack-a-lackin'. And we're going to be going to the Krampus next. I know Asi's been looking forward to seeing that. Sweet Mother of Mercy. Sweet Mother of Mercy. Alright. A type of cilia. A Scylla. Skyla? Let me put it on screen. A type of Skyla that has a lower body like a squid. They normally live at the bottom of the ocean and rarely reveal themselves in front of humans. Boasting tremendous strength, they can seize prey and drag it to the bottom of the sea with 10 flexible tentacles, which possess countless numbers of suckers. That's scary enough. I remember hearing one story about the dude getting dragged all the way through the bottom of the ocean by a giant squid. And he was lucky to be alive because he had some sort of knife on hand to allow him to cut free. But he got fucked up so bad. His injuries were something else. It is a scary thing to be dragged around by a giant squid. It is absolutely scary. Especially in the dark, black ocean at nighttime, where it's the most dangerous time to be in the water. Yeah, that's a no for me. That's why I have a fear of the depths of the ocean. I have no problem swimming. I have no problem with being in the water. But you can forget me about diving. Forget that. No, I'm not doing any DC diving. And yeah, you got about roughly 60 seconds, depending on the seasons of the water too. Because there will be something that'll come up and just kill you. Oh yeah, that and the hypothermia as well. If you have no equipment, you're pretty much done. Alright, their disposition is extremely calm, but they can tend to be very easygoing. When they obtain a human, they don't fuss over the details. Sometimes they even drag the entire ship. Wait. Alright, let me see. Let me read this first. If you find bones in the forest, sit a bit and listen. They are old and have some good stories to tell. It will teach you a spell or two. Or teach you where all the water on the planet came from. If you find bones by the ocean, run. Don't look back. Run. Faster. Faster. The sea may love you, but there are nights where she knows no mercy nor signs. And the bones warn you only once. Yep, that's definitely it. That's definitely it. All right. For that reason, if they begin seeking someone, at the time, many other sea monsters who are after the leavings will gather around a Kraken almost as if to accompany her. With black-colored energy they spit out from their mouths that's like ink. They can create darkness in the entire area around them, trapping the individual who struck their fancy in the darkness. In a darkness that lets no light through whatsoever, oh god, and it's even darker than night. The only thing one will be able to see is their whitely glowing, alluring body. By this means, they are capable to create a private space just for two of them, where nothing can come between them. Oh, that's nice. Nice. You're the ocean, but respect. Yeah, indeed. That's the one thing you always have to keep in mind. The sea is just like space, unexplored to a great degree, full of mysteries, and yet if we treat it lightly, we will suffer the consequences. Okay, what's more, being part of the Skyla family, they have great fondness for close contact with a human being. They seize one's body with their tentacles, glue their bodies together thoroughly, and have sticky, slimy sex. Because of that, not only his field of vision, but also their body and heart will be filled with the body of and pleasure induced by it. Once sex with them is finished, the black-colored energy will disperse and vanish, and the individual will be released from the darkness, but won't be released from the loving embrace of their tentacles. In this way, a man who or woman who becomes their partner will end up spending their days indulging in their white, soft body while being gently embracing their arms and tentacles at the bottom of the sea. Furthermore, Jesus Christ. A product made from condensing the black-colored energy they release and changing into a viscous liquid is called Kraken's ink. It's treated as a delicacy. Not only is it edible, it can also be a precious magical ingredient for magical items. Dark lamps, which light a black-colored flame, use this ink as fuel, and just opposite of ordinary lamp, they produce darkness in the area illuminated. They can also produce a pseudo-night. Oh, that's interesting. But here's one problem. We're underwater. How the fuck can we breathe? We can't breathe underwater, clearly. So unless there's something that they have, like some sort of enveloping aura, whenever they're dragging you along with them, how the fuck are you able to breathe? All right, let me see. Nope. The dark part of the Kraken's head is part of the body. She can only hide it using her mana. I'm pretty sure they can help with that, but I don't think they outwardly mention it, so it's a bit of a rough spot here. Sadly, as much as beautiful as they look, it's just that thing that kills me the most. Plus, being dragged around by a squid out in the open randomly for some unknown reason is already scary enough, so forget that. I'm not fucking around with that. You kidding me? Alright, we have the Krampus. And I'm seeing a jolly amount of gifts and text. Jolly amount of text. All right. Let's go to this one. Oh, don't worry. I got you covered. I got you covered. Sex. I'm glad I have that at the point. I'm glad I had that. All right. It's just a man in the it's just a Japanese man in a tunnel screaming that he will become sex. Not he will have sex, he will become sex. Godspeed, Takashi. Truly a representation of his generation. All right. The Krampus. And I might have to wear my daishiki. I might have to wear my invisible daishiki for this first sentence. Black beastmen with a terrifying appearance that inhabit snowy lands. Excuse me? Despite normally dwelling deep within desolate snowy mountains as the special day of the winter season approaches, they become very active and start to appear even in other places seeking humans. That's why instead of the men they prey upon encountering them in the snowy mountains, in most cases it happens in places like faraway cities, and they may even suddenly appear at the home of their prey. Their disposition is as ferocious as their looks would suggest, and their speech and behavior are very violent. They pin down the prey with very powerful bodies and violate them. On the other hand, yeah, that's what they meant, but I'm just kind of joking around a little bit. Joking around in ways that I can actually do it. On the other hand, they're crafty and contemplative, so even when they've locked their sights on an individual who will be their prey, it's that they always carefully prepare and keep waiting for when that special day eventually comes to get their hands on their prey for sure, instead of just attacking immediately. Thus, generally speaking, a Krampus will be wild with lust when she appears before her prey. When sex happens, the prey will be dealt pleasure so intense that it's violent and be mercilessly milked of essence like they're being devoured by a beast. But in actuality, the source of the bestial lust driving them is their excessively strong desire to service. Perhaps you would never imagine it from their ferocity, but they are an extremely devoted race who take joy in immediately supporting their husbands or partners. And when they discover their husband or partner to be, or their betrothed, they burn with a strong desire to service them. As they await the arrival of the special day to be joined with them, it only swells even greater. When the moment they have been anxiously awaiting is finally at hand, and they appear before their prey, the desire which had been swelling all day, day after day, must be insuppressible. They will give in to their urges and launch an assault to offer them devotion. In other words, the more they think about how they love their betrothed and want to service them, the greater their ferocity grows. As a result, when they perform an oral service intended on providing enjoyment and satisfaction for their betrothed, it's like a beast sinking its teeth into their man in their lower regions and going in a feeding frenzy. And they must be eating out like champions. They must be able to eat out like a fucking buffet. Just absolute. Man, if this article is written in a very modern context, they would be legit the cunning linguists. They'll be masters of eating pussy out like champions. But I digress. And when they offer the body and chastity to their betrothed for the sake of getting impregnated with their child, the sex is like copulating with the beast in Asteris, as they ravish their mate and by straddling them and slamming the hips into them wildly. In this matter, even though it is provided violently, it doesn't change the fact that it's still service. Contrary to how it looks being devoured, instead the pleasantly sweet pleasure and ejaculation rend their prey's body and heart unable to resist them. Furthermore, the special day is a day set by these girls themselves as the appropriate day for offering all their body and soul to their husband or betrothed. In most cases, the day chosen is a day with a special meaning to their prey, such as their birthday or holiday. That's important to many people, such as the chief god's festival, which takes place during the winter season and so on. They make many preparations for that day. Not only do they prepare to go and marry their betrothed, there are also cases when they make arrangements to welcome their betrothed into their own lair. With the arrival of winter, Krampuses can be seen stuffing their prey into sacks and hauling them away on their shoulders. After such an abduction, they always roll out the red carpet for their prey without exception in a warm room where they provide a fancy dinner. That they have prepared as well as such pleasure for such intensity as to be considered violent. Additionally, the aggressive nature of the devotion affects more than just sex. For instance, there are many tales left behind of which concern men who are hard to call good people being abducted by Krampuses, only to finally make a surprising return years later as fine men of character along the kidnappers turn to wives, leaving people to wonder what on earth happened in the meantime. Snoo snoo. Snoo snoo. Hence, depending on the region, Krampuses have come to be told as monstrosities who come to punish bad children during the winter holidays. S plus. S plus. Absolutely S plus. Like, what more can you ask for? They could be a bit on the aggressive side, but damn, if it's able to change someone over to a new leaf completely, then fuck it, why not? All right, next up is the Kunoichi. And knowing how Kunoichi roll, they are good with espionage, indirect attacks, and using their bodies as weapons, be it martial arts or using poisons or some kind of chemicals during sex. So once they honey trap a target, they're as good as dead. The way of the shinobi is always a treacherous one. Alright. A type of succubi who have undergone peculiar development that live in villages called shinobi villages deep within the mountains and other places they come near. Kunoichi were originally human ninja women, but when the demon lord took over, some of them were changed into succubi, originating the Kunoichi as monsters. Their wings have atrophied, but compared to the original type, their physical abilities are extremely high and they are excellently swift. Excel at swift and agile movement. The long, slender yet powerful tail isn't just being used for binding and carrying their prey. It also serves as a grappling hook, allowing them to freely move on walls and ceilings. They're brought up with various trainings from childhood, so they excel at secret techniques in martial arts. They use spells called Ninpo, such as Bushin no Jutsu, to perplex opponents, or basically shadow clones. Being highly capable succubi, they're also adept at bedroom techniques for pleasing men. As I mentioned before, this is pretty much an assassination technique. They are renowned as a first-rate secret organization, and Kunoichi are dispatched from shinobi villages as mercenaries to serve prominent monsters and humans from monster-friendly territories, not just in Zipangu, but throughout the entire world. Normally, they perform a variety of missions as scouts and spies, but those with plenty of experience are given missions of the greatest importance, assassination missions. Their objectives are mainly to neutralize targets that are men of anti-monster territories. Although they call it assassination, they don't actually take lives. No matter how fortified the castle, a Kunoichi on a mission can sneak into the bedroom without anyone noticing and have sex with their target. They continue to train their body and bedroom skills on a daily basis, all for that moment when they defang their targets, claiming his heart for their own. If the man was an important person, she'll be able to freely manipulate by pouring in love and pleasure. The man will be so charmed by the Kunoichi, who is a monster, that he'll betray the anti-monster forces, switch to the monster side, and try to change the anti-monster territory into a monster-friendly territory from within. Oh, so it's a bloodless assassination. After completing a monster-style assassination in this way, they regard the men they enthrall as their lords, and stay by their sides as loyal attendants, with love and devotion. They aid their lord's plans for converting into a monster-friendly territory. After that, if the man has finished his role or finds himself in great danger, or if the target wasn't an important person to begin with, he'll be taken back to the shinobi village as a husband for the sake of producing children, effectively wiping him completely from human society. Wow. These missions are one of the most important things in their lives. They are the goal they yearn to achieve. All the kunoichi grow up dreaming of these missions for seizing a beloved man of their very own. It's not an exaggeration to say that all the training they do from childhood is all for the sake of these missions. Furthermore, if they take a liking to a man in the middle of an ordinary mission, that man will become the mark for their future assassination mission. Oh no, I've been very bad. I've been leading an anti-monster terror force. Whatever shall I do? I hope a kunoichi doesn't come around and assassinate me. Notch notch, wink wink, nudge nudge. Since it'll take priority even over assassination missions required by the shinobi village. Those are then important men of anti-monster territories can't let the guard down. As they're getting their hands on the man, the kunoichi prioritize having sex with the man every day. So many of them retire from the scene, focusing on producing and rearing children. Furthermore, many of them are reticent and don't express very much outward emotion, but it seems this because of the founders of the kunoichi passed down the teaching of one should only reveal one true heart's feeling. Yeah. One should only reveal one's true heart and feelings in front of a husband that one truly loves. Alright, the wings of the kunoichi regress makes it easier to move through tight spaces on their missions. Lack of wings don't hinder them due to how high they can jump, plus walk along walls and ceilings. They can even fly by using mudra hand signs to make mysterious giant kites appear on their backs. The kites aren't even tied to them, but they can still fly with them. I would honestly say this is a B ranking. I thought I was going to enjoy them a lot more, but they seem pretty normal. They seem pretty normal. Alright, let's go back. And we are in L. And there's a particular one that I want someone to probably, you know what, we'll get to that point eventually. Alright, we have the Lamia. Monsters have the upper half of a beautiful human woman and the lower half of a long snake. Lamia may live in villages where their own kind gather or slip into human villages. They are highly intelligent and snake-like cunning and persistence. It's always said that they always obtain whatever human men they have their eyes on. They lurk in the shadows, concealing the serpentine lower half while showing off their beautiful upper half to lure men that happen to be passing by. This is when they'll use their sweet voice laden with powerful charm magic against a man. The Lamia's sultry, bewitching voice will spellbind a man in a tight hold like a snake, pulling around its prey, refusing to release him. And the man will be lured towards the Lamia, staggering. After a man has approached in this manner, they'll swiftly wind their long lower body around him, binding him and robbing him of his body of his freedom, only to have sex with him. Even in the middle of sex, they will continue to whisper love in the man's ears. With pure pleasure and ecstasy, their charming voice grows ever more lustrous. It will continuously reverberate inside the man's head. While continuously being charmed during sex, a man will come to enjoy the sensation of the serpentine's lower half around his entire body, and not just soft skin of the woman intimately press against him, and feel the feel of her lower body where they are joined together. You'll start to feel the Lamia, including her serpentine lower half, is even more charming and lovely, as it already is. Eventually, even the man's heart will be seized by her, and he'll end up surrendering himself to the constriction and the pleasure he receives. Men who strike their fancy are kidnapped and taken away to Lamia villages and will end up at their husbands. These tenacious girls are extremely stubborn about expressing their love to their husband, and they will coil their lower body around him, refusing to let go. When it comes to sex, they will always spend a long time at it while entangled with their husband. They relentlessly shower their husband with love and affection, and they are deeply jealous in an equal proportion. If the husband cheats on them, they'll squeeze tightly around his entire body. If their husband cheats on them, they'll squeeze tightly around his entire body, and he'll end up being thoroughly ravished and milked. They will fuck you into submission. Alright. They molt at regular intervals and will shed and discard the skin of their lower half just like a snake. Immediately after molting, their lower half becomes extremely sensitive, and they enter a state in which their entire serpentine lower half is in the erogenous zone. Even the slightest touch from the husband will result in pleasure coursing through their body, resulting in a state of powerful arousal. Due to the potency of the pleasure they can experience by coiling around the serpentine body around the husband directly after molting, they'll coil around the husband's body and rub against him even more persistently than normal, pursuing coitus in an aroused state. By and large, Lamias are S tier. Just plain and simple. Alright, we have the large mouse. And what are those pants? What are those pants? But the scarf makes him look like a hero. The scarf makes him look like a hero for some reason. A beastman type monster that has a small body and building characteristics of a rat. I must fuck the rat. Since they prefer dark and moist places, they usually live indoors in dungeons, etc. The size is no longer than average. The size is no larger than an average human child. Beware the vermintide. I think I can blow past through this. And while they're not strong by themselves, they're very nimble. Also, when they take action, they're always in a pack consisting of dozens of individuals. So by attacking all at once, they can even bring down a prey that's far larger than the man themselves. And larger than themselves. Of course, when confronting a human as well, the pack will carry out an assault together while scrambling to be the first to mate. In general, they are monsters who can never remain still and are often found running around in circles for no reason at all. When it comes to mating, it's such as the same, and when they get turned on, their hastiness causes them to hurriedly rush after a man's body. They occasionally appear in human settlements to steal food and abduct humans who are necessarily breeding partners. They have a peculiar trait. There's only one man per pack. A man carried away by them will become the center of the pack and will be continuously violated by overwhelming numbers, one of them after another. In the event that the number of individuals in a pack increase too much, the young will leave the group and form a new pack. And this pack will then head to a human settlement seeking someone else to serve as the center for the new group. Rats are often used as magical catalysts. Since they possess the characteristics of rats, they have the physical makeup that makes them extremely easy for them to store magic. However, they have no means of utilizing this magic. Despite that fact, it can easily build up, and when they store too much of it, it exerts a powerful influence over them. The bodies become so hot that they lose control of themselves and go in a lustful frenzy. So sometimes they bite humans and infuse them with excessive magic. In the case of human victims or a human male victim or a female that has matured to a certain degree, The magic will diffuse their insides after they're bitten. After, in a little girl's case, the magic will remain in her body. Directly after being bitten, there is no significant symptoms. But after a while, the girl will become restless like a large mouse. Eventually, she'll come down with a fever and collapse. At the same time, her body will begin to change. And by the time the fever subsides, she'll have changed into a large mouse. Even though the little girl's fever will go down after changing into a large mouse, her... Even though I've read this far into it, it's still safe to just go no-go. Beware the vermintide indeed. Alright, the lava golem. Oh dear lord. Oh boy. I can see where this is going. A monster created when excuse me. There we go. A monster created when will dwells within lava tinged with demonic energy. They have a violent and ferocious temperament. They give into their bubbling, vehement passion and aggressively assault humans, swallowing them with their lava-like body and violating them. The body is born from lava, and its properties and heat are varied depending on color. The black, cool, and hardened-looking parts are comparatively hard and low temperature. In contrast, the red, hot parts are softer and hotter than human skin. This lava that boils seeking a mate doesn't inflict burn wounds on humans. But as for those who touch it, the part it touches takes on heat and starts to feel hot. As the lower region is seized by their hotly pulsing mouth, breaths, or vagina, etc., one's abdomen will suddenly heat up, and even if in a flaccid state, will become immediately erect, taking on an appearance of a reddish-blackish hardness from which the heat is trying to escape. And then, as after it swells up beyond the limit, the huge volcanic eruption will occur easily due to the stimulation of the body that's rich in elasticity and stickiness like that of slime. And then an abundance of thick white stuff will be released inside them. Sex with them is multifaceted, almost like lava with its changing properties. Driven by the urge, they straddle those and shaking their hips, indulging in the pleasure of one's body. And it appears as if they're swallowing and burning up the individual. Meanwhile, if the hot, melting mouth or vagina is taken in the lower region even once, they stick to it, coil around it, and will not let go. And they crawl over the man's body with searing tongue and arms, assiduously covering every part with heat and pleasure to the point it could be called relentless. The result is the heart is melted and the individual is made a prisoner. And then once joined with one's body, they cool and harden their lava, binding them, so that there is no means of escape whatsoever. Once one's body acquired heat from having sex with them, the heat in their lower abdomen never subsides, even after the liaison has ended. Even after releasing huge volumes of fluids, it remains hot and towering. It's too much for most men, and they'll end up having sex with them on their own. The lava golems themselves are the same way, and no matter how much they have sex and indulge in essence, once the heart burns up hotly, it never cools off. The blazing passion and melty love for their husband just gets hotter and hotter every time they have sex. Furthermore, they are weak against water. When a considerably large amount of water is poured over them, their normal ferocity temporarily fades, and they even show a clingy attitude towards men. As also, if it's a volcano, sometimes they even inhabit snowy mountains. Their ferocity dims because the chilly place is hard on them, but to a man who is freezing on a snowy mountain, their hot, soft body is warming to the body and soul. And they'll even be more attractive than usual. The power of lava to cover a chilled body in warmth and pleasure is so vast enough that's enough to make a man experience a sensory illusion, like his body has melted instantly. Ferocious and passionate, but it's not really clicking with me here. At least if I've read it correctly. Like, if you touch them normally, they're gonna burn you. But if you actually engage with any kind of activity with them, they can actually control the heat to the point where you feel mildly warm or hot, but not enough in order to burn you. Oh, they don't burn? Yeah, so I might have been kind of reading things a little bit weirdly. I would say I really do like the way they look, though. I really do. I would say maybe B tier at most. No, let me think it over for a bit. With a lot of identify burn wounds on humans. That's what it touches. Okay, now that I'm thinking it over, I can imagine sensations. I can imagine also how it would feel. And yeah, I would say this is definitely an A tier. This is definitely A tier at most. All right, they have the Lenan Sade. Berries are a bit of a rough area to kind of rank, so I'll put a no-go just to be on the safe side. Like, the only fairy that I can really realistically rank safely would be the whatchamacallit, Titania. All right, we have Lesser Succubus. All right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. So as a defensive measure, they'll just melt you to nothing. But if they're yours, then yeah. All right, Lesser Succubus. I think I might be able to show. Just to be on the safe side, I'll just keep it off stream. The earliest stage of a human woman after a human woman transforms into a succubus by having mana flow into her body through sex with a succubus. Just like with succubi, they absorb essence through sex with human men, sustaining themselves. As for how they differ in outward appearance from succubi, they have comparatively smaller horns, since they have only grown in small translucent wings and tail, and hair covering various parts of their bodies. They use magic in order to make the bodies more appealing so they can seduce men. The hair is still there to protect the bodies during the time. When a human woman changes into a succubus, the first thing that appears is their lust and sexual sensitivity of her body skyrockets to an unbelievable level. Since they're starving for essence, they'll become overcome with an intense hunger. When women who've only just become monsters still have their human values, but the monster's body that's hot for men and the intense feeling of hunger the human mind cannot hold out. Driven by desire, they end up attacking human men. Once they get a taste of the devil's pleasure, they become its prisoner. Their human values crumble away. They drown in it, seeking men and pleasure with all their heart. As they gain human essence in this way, their little horns and wings grow bigger, and their heart becomes more and more lustful, completely transforming into a succubus. Even after becoming a succubus, their base personalities and memories are still the same from the time when they were human, but their values change in whatever way is needed to become those of a succubus. They will start to aggressively attack men in pursuit of essence and pleasure. There is no known method to change a woman who has become a succubus back into a human. In the case that one's love ends up becoming a succubus, he should give up on saving her and just run away immediately. If not, he'll be taken by her to a monster realm and be forced to frequently copy what the bewitching, lustful demon that she has become for the rest of his life. So, part and parcel, I would say this is this. The lesser succubus would pretty much be B tier. I would say nothing spectacular, but nothing to really kind of drive you away either. And if it's like your girlfriend becomes a succubus, it could be a very interesting experience when you think about it. The one thing you really have to worry about is just having your soul getting dragged away every single time. And you're being also dragged away into the monster realm too, so you're kind of fucked. Whether you see a silver lining behind it or not is kind of up to you. All right, we have the Lich. The Lich. And every time I think of the Lich, I always think back to Whis from Konosuba. My goodness. The most adorable Lich. It's a shame that Aqua just constantly tries to kill her every single time. I'll drag her. Oh, yeah, yes. Again, you also, in Monster Girl world, you have to be a Chad. You have to be a Chad. If you act like a dead fish, you're going to get dragged away and turned into their plaything. That's just it. That's just pretty much it. Alright. The Lich, a powerful human sorceress who changed into an undead. There are those who chose to become Liches of their own accord and pursued for eternal life and limitless knowledge. They possess much greater magic than they did while most amongst the living. They are at a terrifying high rank undead that can freely use spells such as necromancy and which reanimates corpses into undead servants, and aeromancy, which manipulates lust and heightens pleasure. Most of them have a strong fixation with and thirst for knowledge of sorcery and the pleasure of sex, which they have awakened after becoming monsters. Even in death, they continue their lewd magical research and experiments to master sorcery and reach the depths of pleasure. They usually immerse themselves in their research in dwellings away from human settlements, and rarely reveal themselves in front of people. However, a human is absolutely necessary to them as they replenish their magic by taking essence, and one's body can serve as a test subject. And there are spells of sexual experiments which require both a man and woman to perform. So if they spot someone, they'll aggressively attack in an attempt to subdue them. To them, even their own body is the material for experimentation, and is imbued with various lewd spells so they can maximize their pleasure for themselves. So I guess If a woman was abducted, I guess they could also do some spells in order to make him into Fudas. Thinking it that way. So there is also that possibility. It doesn't always have to be a man's essence. It could be essence that is similar to a man. All you have to do is just change the organs so it's fitting the same purpose. Moving on. Most of them don't take much interest in others, with the exception of the man they choose as their husband. A monster is one and only partner who shares their greatest pleasure with her. They even have even stronger attachment to them than to sorcery. The one who has become their betrothed will spend the days thinking and pursuing experience of sex and magic in order to reach the depths of pleasure and sorcery as their eternal partner. Their bodies imbued with various spells by their own hand to become more lascivious, sensitive, and insatiably lustful so that they can obtain more essence and pleasure. Once they have more sex with a man, with their body in such a state, they'll be attacked with so much pleasure that would normally cause them to lose their mind and become a beast. However, while they do immensely enjoy the deep pleasure, they enjoy composure to analyze sex. That's your Barbie boss again. Was it the nice food again? They threaten to punch you again? And the effects of the spells they use, and the effect of the spells they use. But no threats this time. Ah, man. I'm still kind of laughing inside, just remembering that he's actually he actually threatened you over the food. But hey, if food's that good, you might as well. This is because they put their soul into a vessel called a phylactery, and they distance their soul from the pleasure and essence their body receives. Due to this, they can enjoy pleasure and maintain the capability for calm, objective thought, even right in the middle of sex with their husband, whereas monsters' minds would be consumed by pleasure. But if the phylactery is broken, or damaged, the soul returns to the body, and if they have sex in this state, not only their body, but even their soul will be swallowed by the pleasure and essence. And then they'll be unable to think about anything other than the beloved in front of them. So they're falling for the oatmeal. What'd you put in the oatmeal, by the way? I keep that in mind. Because I know there's like sometimes when my parents used to put like star anise in their oatmeal, along with the raisins and stuff. It really comes out great. As for the Lich, I would say... The Lich is an A. Oh, it's from a restaurant that you got it from. Okay, let's move on to the Lulum. Oh boy. This one looks interesting. And it's also safe to show on stream too. Yay. A general term for the daughters of the demon lord who possess both incredible magic power and beauty that captivates men and won't let them go. They have pale skin and pure white hair, which they share in common with the demon lord, and red eyes full of demonic energy. Other than that, their looks and personalities are all vary depending on the individual, but all of them have a lustful personality and their heads full of thoughts of sex, as is becoming of a succubus. They have a deep love for all men and monsters, and they want nothing other than for humans and monsters to live together in harmony, seeking each other's bodies and lustfully having sex. To them, that is the ideal form of human-monster relations, and that is what they are more like than anything else. They have the greatest power of all succubi, but even if they don't use their powers for charm spells, Almost all men would become their prisoner after only catching a glimpse of their visage. Even without using words of temptation, men are aroused at the sight of them and consumed by total lust. If they tempt a man, even without magic, there is no element of force even necessary. The men themselves will step forward and offer their bodies, desiring to be ravished by them. It is said that even if a man charmed by them had been a monster-hating devout follower of the chief god, only moments earlier, from then on, he would eagerly look forward to the devilish pleasure they can offer. They have the power to rule over many men. Many men. Many, 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 many men. But no matter what, their goal is the same as most of other monsters and their own mother, the demon lord. To find the one man they love the most in the world and be strongly longing for one another and lustfully having sex. All they want to do is become one with their ideal husband or betrothed. Just like the demon lord, there are beings that have demonic energy of all the monsters in the world contained within their bodies. Just like the demon lord, they have the ability to cause human women to be reborn as any kind of monster through having sex, as long as the resulting race is one that is subordinate to the demon lord and was always or has effectively become an entirely a monster race. In order to create an ideal world, they'll aggressively try to convert human women into monsters. The race the women end up getting changed into varies depending on the individual, the time, and other circumstances. So it's pretty much gotcha. Sometimes the women are changed into monsters that suits their personality and ideals, but at most of the time, they'll decide the race depending on the mood. Wow, that's kind of spiteful. So if they're having a bad day and they just come across a lady just enjoying her time, just staying in a lane, she'll just float towards her and say, hey, you're gonna become this. Pat her on the head, smack her in the face, wildly kiss her, and then the lady just gets transformed into some random ass monster. You played the gotcha, whether you like it or not. And all during that, the poor lady that's currently transforming right in front of everybody else will just be absolutely embarrassed and almost driven to the point of madness. And all the dark energy is going to be swirling around her to the point of just becoming a lustful beast. All while the woman just going to have a deadpan look and just move about going on her day. So they are temperamental. They're a symbol of the demon lord's power. The more their numbers increase, it means the more sex the demon lord has had with her husband, and the more vast the power she has built up becomes. Also, by continuing to have sex with their husbands and build up power, the world becomes more saturated with succubus energy. This has the function of maintaining the present system of the demon lord and monsters. If they're raising the succubi of enormous power as successors of the demon lord, then even if the demon lord were to be destroyed by the chief god, the world will still be full of demonic energy. The current world of carnal relations between humans and monsters could still be maintained. So just by looks alone, they're pretty hot, but they're very temperamental. They can be temperamental, like the description said. But it seems only towards women that they have a bit more of aggressive push. But even from like the descriptions that they have here, it's nothing to really write home about. They just have the looks in order to really charm people. Well, she definitely charmed me to an A, but that's pretty much it. Nothing really spectacular to really write home about. All right, the Lila rune. The Lila rune? Yeah, Lila rune. Say that 3 times fast. Lila rune, Lila rune, Lila rune. It sounds weird. Like I can't even just fully pronounce it. Lila rune. Lila rune. Yo, let's just go. Well, all that matters is that they twins. It's double the trouble. A sub-mutational variant of the Allura with two women's bodies growing from one flower. Like the original variety, they lure and prey through the fragrance of sweet nectar without moving very much from one spot. The two women correspond with stamen and pistil, and perhaps for that reason they seek one another. Their bodies are always intertwined and have sex as they have sex, and due to that, their nectar is riper compared to that of ordinary Allura. Its effects as an aphrodisiac and stamina enhancer are amplified and has a thicker, sweeter taste. The fragrance sweetly melts the brains of not only humans, but also human men, but even women and monsters. If the one who smelled it was a human man, then he'd be lured before the two female bodies having sex inside the flower petals. Even if it's a woman or monster, she'll go so mad with lust she'll make her hands creep towards their own genitals right then and there. In a man's absence, the two of them act as if they're in their own little world, focused only on each other inside the flower petals. But whether stamen or pistil, the true nature is that of a monster female. When a man goes inside the flower petals, where the two of them are having sex after being lured by the fragrance of the nectar, they'll naturally pinch the man between them, and sex will continue with the addition of the man. Hey, you're a sandwich. You're in the sandwich. When they have sex normally, the act itself and the ripened nectar produced are a means of luring a man, and besides it gets them ready to welcome a man inside the flower petals. They exist in a state of constant sexual readiness. Their bodies soak in thick nectar, and pleasure are softly loosened up. The skin feels nice to the touch, and the sweet fragrance exudes makes a man want to suck all over them. Actually, having sex with them will produce sweet pleasure that is like nectar. As for them, each body has its own separate consciousness and thoughts, but since they're habitually having sex with their other half, they have full knowledge of one another's bodies and hearts, and they can vividly sense how their other half will attack a man next. The two bodies pinching a man between them, two pairs of arms coiling around him, 4 lumps of flesh that can freely change shape, 2 tongues dribbling sweet nectar, and 2 vaginas that can take turns swallowing his manhood. 2 for 2 for 2. What more can you ask for? They coordinate everything perfectly in their movements and attack the man simultaneously, painting pleasure and nectar into every inch of their body, milking him dry. After learning a taste of a man in this way, they become so clingy that we can even say that they're dependent on the man. They also become their common husband, will not be released from the inside of the flower petals. Instead, they'll end up as if they had become another part of the Ligaroon. And the threesome with the two intent on always being glued together will continue. Perhaps because they're mutants, they're unstable beings. In rare cases are born having the nature of the Ligaroon, but still only having one woman in the flower. In that case, seeking the other half, they will invite a human woman into the flower petals and permeate the woman's body with plenty of nectar and pleasure, transforming them into the other half. Also, extremely rarely, if individuals are even born with only one flower petals, and not even a single woman in that case. They take 2 human women inside, make them have sex inside themselves, and change them into the Ligaroon. On this occasion, they mostly go after 2 people that are especially close, or 2 people that are fighting over the same man. Conversely, they can, in this case of 2 people that are in love with separate men, the flower will react with rejection and spit them out of the petals. That's an interesting little tidbit. But that twin magic is definitely doing something. I would have to go with an S. Yeah, and this will be serviceable. Read the trivia. The name is a pun. Lily is called Yuri in Japan. Ah. All right. Next up, we have the living armor. All right, living armor. Living armor. So, I can show this on stream because it's not really much showing around. I hope I don't get blown up as I scroll. Nope. I'm safe. Let me drink some water too. A monster that comes to be when demonic energy dwells within lifeless armor. In the illustration, she has a form of a half-transparent female clad in armor. But that's only how they look to their husband. In the eyes of other humans, they don't look female at all. Instead, they appear like an empty suit of armor around moving by itself. If they don't have an owner, they will attack one in pursuit of a husband or a betrothed in some cases. But for the most part, they result from armor that continued to fight along with its owner and sought power to protect its owner, eventually becoming a monster. Being armor, the fundamental principle that guides their behavior is the willingness to risk their own life to protect their owner in the face of any danger. After becoming a monster, the durability of the armor increases to such a degree that not even a bullet could crush steel, or flames hot enough could melt steel could even phase it. Besides, acting as an autonomous soldier, they can be also worn by the owner as a regular armor. Hey, that's a cool bonus. You could also you could probably sync up too. Your personalities become one. Once a monster has settled on a betrothed, her body will change to be optimal for having sex with them. But in their case, even the armor will become custom tailored to their own owner, and their betrothed. Someone other than their betrothed will be able to never wear them. But for their betrothed, they'll become the best possible armor. They won't feel the constrained, they won't feel the weight, and no burden at all will be placed on their body. That's a nice bonus. When wearing them, one another's bodies will join together, and essence and demonic energy will mix together, resulting in a sensation as if they become one. Like I said, I'm liking this already. They will share each other's senses through merely human, and though merely human, the betrothed will be able to exhibit physical abilities and sharp senses like a monster. On this occasion, there is no sensation of pleasure, but they both experience an uplifting feeling of security, like that of an embrace. After a taste of that, they want to be joined more deeply and actively seek intercourse. Also, by having sex again and again and adapting to one another's bodies, one can more deeply synchronize while wearing them, and their senses will grow keener. In short, the more one fights, the more one will end up yearning for them, and the more sex they'll have, and the more powerful they grow. The husband and wife, or the betrothed couple who copulate while fighting in the middle of the battle, will end up constantly making love outside of battle. Along with the armor, they possess a heart and as solid as steel, and any sort of impact or stimulus from outside will cause no change in their expression, but they have no defense against stimulation from their betrothed. If their betrothed so desires, they can remove their armor easily, and if the betrothed touches their exposed insides, the mind will gleefully accept the pleasure, and their face will distort in a slovenly expression. Just like their armor, the inside of their body is optimal for receiving their gun. That was for you. That was a bit of a slip. Their gun. Because for a quick moment, I just all of a sudden thought of fucking Cessna. And now all makes sense. Exia, Riser, that's their living armor. That's Cessna's living armor. Holy shit, we found it. We found it. We found it. We found it. Oh man, it is such a wonderful thing. We have found Exia. We have found the reason why Cessna calls himself a Gundam. Because once he's inside Exia, he is basically operating a living armor. And if we go by what's going on through MGE standards, and on the opening of Double O Gundam, the personification of Exia, that's who the living armor is. Exia is her. Exia is the living armor. And by proxy, they've been at it for a long time. All right. Just like the armor, the inside of the body is optimal for receiving their betrothed. It feels so pleasant that even after insertion and ejaculation, they won't feel like pulling out. And remaining joined will be a habit. No one would try to put on a moving suit of armor. When a living armor, alright. Yeah, I know what I'm gonna do after stream ends. I'm gonna have to buy some cat litter, and thankfully I actually ate something. When a living armor is lying on the ground asleep, they just look like regular armor. In the case of a person putting on the armor, if it's a man, then he'll become their owner. But if it's a woman, unfortunately, her body will be continued to be soaked in demonic energy that will fill the armor. At first, there will be only slight changes, such as enhanced mood and a flushing body. Usually, the woman will mistake it for the thrill of battle and heat accumulated in the armor. Eventually, instead of sweat, there will be love juice leaking from the gaps of the armor. The woman will seek out a man as if being goaded by something, and by the time she throws off the armor to have sex, she will have completely transformed into a monster. Living armor is definitely S+. S+ indeed. All right, and we're gonna move on to the living doll. We are gonna move on to the living doll. And there's a very interesting precedent that's gonna be set here. There's a very interesting precedent that's gonna be set here. We'll see. All right, living doll. Strong sentiment that builds up in dolls that were mistreated or thrown away fuses with demonic energy, causing them to come to life. Perhaps because of that, they have a strong obsession with being loved and treated importantly by their owners, and they possess a mysterious charm that stirs up a man's possessive instinct, or one's possessive instinct, causing them to want to make them their own. Their body has changed it to a soft one suited for sex with individuals, so they can be deeply loved by their owner. And they also follow the same kind of rules as anything like an automaton or anything that has like option part capabilities, if they choose to. If they choose to. If they choose to. Yeah, S plus of. Let's continue on. They don't just assault those they like, as other monsters do. Sometimes they pretend to be an ordinary doll, and many who have taken them home after being captivated by the charm. Dolls are media that can easily carry demonic energy to begin with. And these girls who are doll monsters can also possess a large amount of demonic energy in their body. Having one of them at home will cause continual exposure to demonic energy and their power of charm. Eventually, by the time they reveal their true nature and attack, one will already be in love, and they'll be helpless to resist sex. And they'll be helpless to resist sex with them. Once one gets himself charmed by them, it'll be too late by the time they realize they are a monster. Even if one tries to go far away and discard them, even if they try to break them into pieces, at night they will turn to them in their original beautiful state and get back on top of their hips and sipping essence. It's not only men that are affected by the charm. Many human girls like and own them. Living dolls that become little girls' inseparable playmates will invite the girl to play lewd, monster-like games and seek to teach her body about pleasure. Additionally, since the girl's body will be continuously exposed to demonic energy, she'll eventually become a succubus. As for the little succubus girls who are born in this manner, they'll start to enjoy pleasure following this doll's guidance, as though the positions of the doll and the owner have been swapped. After being tempted by the doll, the two will gang up and assault someone to play a more pleasurable game with 3 people. Furthermore, if the owner is a little monster girl, the demonic energy will always be flowing into the girl from the doll, who will raise the girl's abilities as the succubus considerably. The more pure and innocent the girl is, the better the demonic energy will suit her. The more girly the girl, the more she'll grow into a more powerful succubus, possessing superior sexual techniques and a devil's charm, while still having the same girlish nature. They are love-starved dolls that become monsters, but sentiment can also dwell in dolls that were very much loved and treated with care, and they become monsters too. Even in that case, they will attack it in the same way to share more love with their owner and get their owner to like them more. Now, here's the precedent. There is a bit of a condition. Sometimes a soul can be transplanted to inanimate objects. In some cases, this living doll right here could have someone else's soul inside it. If you know where I'm going, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joel. I don't know if you're gonna come across this, but yeah, it seems like MG's kind of doing you dirty here. But thankfully, because of the endless customization options and the many ways a doll could be gussied up, consider yourself lucky, because living dolls also fall into the same categories. Man, I'm gonna have to go back to like the previous ratings here and there too. I'm gonna have to go back. Like the automaton, I'm definitely gonna be giving S plus, and all the other ones like the dark slime, S plus. Anything that has customization options, anything that has the ability to transform themselves or to adapt to certain surroundings very quickly, already have a huge boon over everything else. So living dolls, I'm gonna bypass the other facts that have been put here and put them in S plus. Now, please don't choke me out, Joel. Please. I'm not being bribed by any means whatsoever. I just got to put that out there. All right, moving on. We got the Lizard Man. And that's all for L. Oh, okay. All right. A monster with lizard-like characteristics that inhabit caves. Most of them excel in... Wait, this should be kind of safe to show. Yeah, this should be safe to show. Most of them excel in physical abilities. They are warriors able to master using a variety of weapons. They're always polishing their martial arts, so okay, we're good. Most of them won over the world for the sake of training. So one can probably encounter them in various places beside the caves where they usually dwell. They have aggressive personalities, but they don't attack humans. However, if they meet a human individual that is like a warrior to them, then that's another story. They'll request battle to try their skills. Even if one loses the battle, they won't take his life or anything. But if one beats them, they'll request marriage on the spot, as they have a habit of trying to make a husband out of strong men or women who defeat them in battle. If one were to refuse, then they probably just keep chase after. Oh, wow. Yeah. The lustful Argonian maid. How many volumes are there in that, actually? With the name that lifts her tail? Yeah. Yep. But it's this line that just makes me laugh a little bit. If one were to refuse, then they'd probably keep chasing after him and bucking him for a long time until they agreed. If one were to still refuse even after that, they'll get sick of waiting and move into the action. So you beat them, you're one and done, and they just try to go your merry way, but you always have the lizard man just constantly walk up right beside you and say, please marry me, please marry me, please, please, please. I'm on my hands and knees, marry me, marry me, marry me, marry me, marry me. And if you try to run away as fast as possible, just trying to dodge them all the entire time, they're going to be a little bit more forceful. You have run out of options. You will marry me whether you like it or not. And it just bulldogs you into the ground, face full of mud. You have no choice but to have that ring on your finger. And I'm talking about like Chris Jericho style of bulldogging. Put your face onto the floor. Or even worse, probably just do like a running DDT. Because, of course, they're kind of warrior-like. Just like other monsters, in order to make a man their husband, for sure, they'll try to tempt him, assault him, even have sex with him. Even though they devote their lives into martial arts, monsters are monsters. They have ample instinctive knowledge on how to handle a man's sword too. Their well-trained bodies are devilish in nature and can generate exquisite pleasure. And if a man still won't consent even after that, then there's no limit to the extreme they will go until a man does feel like it. As warriors, they leave a stoic and firm impression, but on the contrary, they will serve the man who will become their husband with all their heart and thoroughly perform their duties as a wife. That's because they have an instinctive drive to serve the man who defeats them, as much as they seek to do battles. After obtaining a husband, they will come to strongly desire to give birth to their husband's children. For them, there is a strong instinctive desire to be impregnated by the husband who is even stronger than them. As one of the basics of their species. The lizard men who want to be with men stronger than they are give birth to strong children and raise them to even be stronger than themselves, resulting in an entire lizard man race growing stronger. God forbid if they ever run into Yujiro Hanma. God forbid. but I would have to say B. It's the fact that they just, if you beat them, they'll just never stop badgering you for marriage. And then after a certain point, it's pretty much you're locked into the certain route where there is no escape. You're dragged to the little chapel in Las Vegas, and you have to do the deed with her no matter what the situation. They like strong people. They like people with great techniques. They like people that can easily pass down generations. All right, and that is pretty much it for the L side. Next we have, wait, let me take a look at ahead. Magicor I can definitely hit with a no-go. I could just keep looking ahead, see what Nightmare. All right. We have Mad Hatter. A race exclusive to Wonderland called Bushia. Bushi. And after this, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. All right. And a race exclusive to Wonderland also called Bushia. The gender of this race was a Matango that was suddenly mutated, gaining keen intelligence due to a spell cast by the Queen of Hearts. And remember, the Queen of Hearts is an absolute bitch. Just sees nothing more than her entire playground. When she was mad at being ignored. Furthermore, the Matango in question wasn't actually ignoring the queen, but was simply engrossed in having sex with their husband. Wow. Wait. Okay, there's two things too. There's another thing that I have to think back to the Lizard Man as well. Oh God. I'm actually glad I caught on that too. The fact that they badger you so much, it reminds me of the Chris posting again. The Chris posting is so... Just imagine a situation where there's a one-on-one fight and the Lizard Men are sisters. But the older sister is just hanging around in the background while the younger sister is just fighting against, like, you or someone else. So, once the younger sister is beaten, instead of asking for her hand, instead of asking for her hand in marriage, she asks for her sister's hand in marriage because she's desperate to see something happen. Please, I want you to fuck my sister. I want you to come and fuck my sister because she's gotten to the point where she's becoming a decrepit old cat lady. She has 4 cats. And I don't know if there's a chance that we can actually continue the bloodline. Please help us. Help me. I can't stand around being around her anymore. Any longer, she's gonna have an entire Daki Kimura collection. Please. I want you to fuck my sister. Okay. And the other thing is it's this whole other thing too here. In the same way that as the Matanga species, there are human women that transform into monsters after being parasitically infected by a giant mushroom. As for thoughts triggered by the mushroom, instead of becoming vague as a Matanga would, they instead gain greater clarity. Their human intellect and reasoning remains intact, while their mind becomes even faster. Their calm, bearing mind makes them seem greater than human intelligence. However, inside the mind of their highly intelligent heads, of course, mushrooms. It's mainly overflowing with lewd thoughts about sex with men, and monster-like words of love are mainly released from their lips. At a glance, they seem unbecoming of denizens of Wonderland, but just like other inhabitants of Wonderland, they are sex-crazed values, so they're just quiet lunatics. However, no matter how sensual their words are and conduct appear to be, they never lose the atmosphere of elegance that shrouds them. Even though their words are lewd, they're spoken in a calm, cool tone that is as if they were speaking of the weather. When they gesture towards a man's body by extending their hand, it's very natural and elegant even. For them, it's only natural that all their thoughts and actions are centered around love and pleasure with men. Even when they speak suavely, saying things such as, "Why? Naturally, I like to spend my time joined with you, right?" As if ordinarily there were no need to even mention it. Men are unable to notice their desires and madness. Since they're unable to notice even when they're on the verge of being attacked, the men end up having sex with them anyway. Their brand of insanity is so natural looking that just observing them, their behavior, one would be almost deluded into thinking it was normal. The spores released by the mushroom in their head cause severe bewitching effect in those who inhale them, making them acknowledge the madness and abnormality of Wonderland. Meanwhile, otherwise their consciousness and thoughts gain clarity, so the person who inhaled them isn't even aware of the self-changes brought about by the spores. After touching their madness and getting dragged in by this manner, once a man tastes their sticky hypha-like body, normal will be overwritten and he'll be stained into a denizen of Wonderland, appropriate as her husband. It's possible for them to freely remove the giant mushroom growing in their head almost as if it were a hat, and by having sex and obtaining essence with it off. It's possible for them to bring forth a new hat, or rather mushroom. The curious thing is that if men or monsters wear them, they can change into normal hats, made from felt or cloth. However, when a human woman puts them on, the mushroom spreads its roots into their head and parasitically infects her, sending a huge amount of spores inside her head and making it full of mushroom. Once her head is literally activated due to that, no matter what she thinks, it will always lead into something obscene, and she'll desire a man's mushroom. And then, as it pulled along by that, her heart and body will change into a Mad Hatter. The disposition is pretty nice to kind of be around, but they're just really good at hiding their hand, so to speak. So I would say this is B. And next we have the Manticore. This looks kind of interesting on the surface. Oh yeah. Yep. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna hit the washroom real quick. Yep, the face of Monster Girl Encyclopedia. All right, I'll be back. All right, time to dive some tail pussy. All right, man, that tail looks scary though. All right, a hybrid beast having the body of a beast. A hybrid beast having the body of a beast, bat-like wings, and a tail equipped with a tiny lump of flesh at the end. They are highly intelligent, with a cunning and cruel disposition. Being sadistic and infinitely lustful, they enjoy aggressively violating humans and milking them of their essence. Because of their cruel disposition, they purposefully do not deny the fake stories being told in some anti-monster states about a monster that feasts on human flesh, and they act as if they really do eat humans. Many of them enjoy the look of a man in terror, and how a reaction changes afterwards when he's bewildered by pleasure. The interior of the lump of flesh on their distinctive tail is covered with soft walls of flesh in countless number of folds. Has been adapted as an organ for milking semen, specializing in pleasuring a penis and spurring ejaculation. Or anything in the lower mouth, anything in the lower regions would also classify too. I can imagine the interesting interactions that could go from there. Once the mouth of her tail opens and engulfs the lower regions, they'll be able to make the walls of flesh pulse at will, even tightly wrapping it, causing continual pleasure and easily guiding someone to ejaculation. They have venomous spines growing on their tails that are used to prevent interference when milking, when milking fluids. But beside that, they can also fire them at their prey. That's interesting. This venom has the effects of causing one's body to produce large amounts of fluids and spurring ejaculation. In this state, if one's lower body is engulfed by their tail, they will reach climax every time the walls of their tail move, and the ejaculation will be repeated relentlessly. So every time it pulses, you fire away too. Furthermore, in a cruel twist, this venom does not influence the mind anywhere near as much as it influences the body. Knowing fully well what will happen after that, they maliciously retract their spines as if to let the man pull off their tail. But once the man grabs it in his hands, his body will completely ignore his own thoughts. Instead, move on its own, seeking. Wow. So she kind of just baits you to try and reach out and pull the tail away from you. But instead, you probably get hit with the venom without even realizing it, and you all of a sudden lose control of your body. And you just you just turn the tail into like a fucking fleshlight. The man will grab the tail and jerk his own penis with it, inducing continuous ejaculations with his own hands. Of infinite lust, and to satisfy it, they'll use the tails to pump as much amounts of fluids as possible while defanging the man. When they attack the man, they always use their tails. They just keep sipping essence through the tail for a while after catching a man, as though he's nothing but prey to them. And they don't use their vagina like other monsters. A man's essence is taken through their tail, efficiently bonds with their body, and diffuse it entirely throughout. Even if they don't suck essence directly through the genitalia, it reaches her vagina, uterus, and inside her mouth, and even her fingertips. They become intimately familiar with the taste of essence and the shape of the penis of the man who will become their husband. Ultimately, it will cause their bodies to be remade perfectly for the husband's exclusive use, so they can pleasure him even more rapidly than usual and taste his essence. After specializing every part of themselves for their husband in this manner, they will ravish him using their vagina for the first time. The sex on that occasion results in great pleasure that both of them will no longer be able to live without it. And this is ingrained in their bodies. This, for sure, is proof of marriage to them. That's how much their husband and sex with him is special to them. But they almost never speak of their true feelings. So even if you're a child, you're still gonna get dominated no matter what. You have no choice but to really submit. An absolute beast. An absolute beast indeed. All right, the mantis. Ooh. I'll probably put this on stream. And you know, I might have to do like a continuation on the next week too. It's just gonna be in the middle of everything else. So Monday and Wednesday are just gonna be normal days. So maybe Tuesday and Thursday will be like some overtime days, because I have a feeling I might not actually reach the absolute end of it. So consider that an extension, a possible extension, no less. Okay, let's get to the mantis. An insect monster distinguished by the huge sides equipped on both of its arms. Normally they dwell deep within the forest, using these sides on their arms to massively bring down wild animals, etc., and eat them. Because of how ruthless they appear when observed, instantly lopping off the head of a massive beast, they're also called assassins of the forest and are feared. It's very rare for a monster, but should they encounter a human, they not only will not attack, they will not indicate any interest whatsoever. In fact, they could not care less. Their expression is always fixed, and they do not feel anything like emotion no matter what happens in front of them. Nothing stirs their heart. Even when they decapitate a beast and bathe in its blood, their expression does not change at all, so assassin is very fitting. They live every day just to survive. For that reason, they do not take any interest in anything that is not necessary for survival. Since they cannot eat a human, to them they are completely worthless. However, despite this, at a certain point in their lives, there comes a time when they absolutely do need a human. Of course, since they are monsters, in order to produce children, they must have human seed. So when mating season comes around, they do need human men. Even then, they only view human man as a tool necessary for breeding, and mating just happens to be something necessary for the survival of the mantis race. When they come into the season, they leave the forest and head for roads and places near human settlements. They swiftly capture human men without any emotion at all, and take them back to the forest and to have sex solely for the purpose of procreation. They skillfully shred the man's clothes in a careful manner so as not to damage what's inside and expose their lower body. Then, without any passion or feeling, they'll fondle his penis and work in a work-like manner to get it erect. I was about to ask how, but I do see they have fingers and actual hands, so it's just like the Kamatachi. Even though it's the first time, they'll be completely unconcerned and lower their hips with indifference. That's when everything about them changes. Upon experiencing intense pleasure for the first time, the body inexplicably heats up, and their brain is overwhelmed with sweet stimulation. In an attempt to make sense of it and figure things out, they shake their hips timidly. Then their body and mind go numb, and they end up understanding it even less. While unsure of everything, they look at him in the face of the man they are mounting. Their own chest and face will rapidly grow hotter. Then they will naturally move their face close to his and kiss him. Answer goes quite such an ear-piercing scream that you'll die for it. But it was kind of no-go territory, so I just had to play it safe. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna to have some sort of noise-canceling headphones or earplugs in order to do the deed anyway. When the lips come in contact with a man, even though they should not understand it, they'll naturally clamp down the pieces and begin moving their hips to roughly guide it deeper and deeper inside. Before long, fluids are released, and at the very moment their heart, which used to be empty, becomes filled with a mysterious one for the very first time. So in a sense, they're kind of like an ice queen. And let them grow a bit. Yeah, just add water. Yeah, like a few of the ones that we came across in the previous days have literally been just add water and they'll become greater than FBI tier. That's pretty much that. Like a fucking chia pet. Chia. By having sex with a man, they realize for the first time how good it feels to have sex with a human man, and just how endearing men are to them. After that, they do not just live to survive. They start to live for the sake of living together with a man and having sex. Once they know the taste of a man, they'll never let him go after having the first time. Their size will end up being used to protect their man and hunt for him. And then every night in bed, they will mount their man and feel plenty of that incomprehensible happiness in their body, so their heart will be completely captivated. They'll rub their body against their beloved man and make love passionately. Afterwards, they go back to their emotional state just like before, but they blush faintly when they're around their husbands. And you can likely see their lips forming into a smile just barely. Okay, so they're actually kuderes. They're just absolute kuderes. That's an A tier. Alright. And my clothes are actually done inside the dryer, so I should be good. So I should have enough time to get my clothes settled out. And on top of that, get some stuff from the supermarket too, mostly some cat litter. The March, hiya! Whoa! Whoa! What are those? The March hare. Those are actually her legs. Never mind. They're not pants. They're not pants. They're not pants. Okay, a variety of beastmen unique to Wonderland. The progenitor of this race was a were rabbit, who, so she could live more comfortably, was granted the power of the mighty succubus, the Queen of Hearts, who absolutely adores rabbits. I wonder why. I absolutely wonder why. What could be very standout of a rabbit that would make the succubus enjoy their company? Maybe we'll never know. Maybe. They're in heat all throughout the year, and they're sex crazed. So they're so lustful that sex isn't on their minds. It's said that pervades their flesh, from the tops of their ears to the tips of their toes. When they come face to face with a human, they often misinterpret their words in a lewd direction. Perhaps because their head becomes flooded with the desire for sex with the individual right before their very eyes, and wild fantasies. I'm not gonna read that example. When one begins a conversation with them, at first it's confusing and impossible to understand. But while having verbal and physical exchanges and being exposed to demonic energy and madness, one gradually becomes able to understand their peculiar thoughts and distortions of topics. Ultimately, a man will become a sex-crazed like them, and be able to calmly have insane conversations that can be obscenely distorted from any given topic, and it will all seem normal. Where have I seen this before? Once they obtain a husband or betrothed in this manner, their head becomes full of thoughts of sex with their betrothed instead of sex with men or women or anything else, or anyone else. Since the conversation ultimately always goes back to the topic of sex every day, it naturally leads to spending the days having sex. For that reason, those who become their betrothed will end up spending most of the days having good exchanges, verbally and physically. From the top of their rabbit ears to the tips of their toes, the hare's body will be crazy for their husband or betrothed, and once one gets a taste of it, it very easily makes them become sex crazed, or rather wife crazed. Their dietary habits are just like the original species. They're herbivores and prefer vegetables, but out of that, they prefer demon room produce, especially stuff with a high aphrodisiac effect. Instead of drinking water, they drink a sort of aphrodisiac. Their dietary habits further accelerate their sex drive, but it's said that they're constantly in heat to begin with, so it'll probably make one slight difference to them. As they often participate in tea parties held by monsters called hatters, one should be worried because the tea and sweets are typically made particularly from the demon room produce with the most radical effects. Uh-huh. I would definitely go with a B with this one. Or maybe even a C even. Yeah, maybe a C would probably be much more ideal. Because there's only so much you could do with like someone that's absolutely sex crazed. Absolutely sex crazed. Like, if you can't have a normal conversation, then that's a bit of a problem there. Oh, we're getting to the good ones too. All right, let's see the Matango. A monster mushroom is shaped like a woman that lives in damp places in the forest. They stick their roots into the ground or large trees and absorb nutrients through them. Because they put their roots down, they cannot move around. They're often dazed, and since the nutrients they get from the ground are not enough for activity. Excuse me. They periodically spread spores from the mushroom caps from growing through the body. If a human breathes this spore in, it will sprout and grow. Once it becomes a large mushroom, the thoughts of the male will be seized by it. Men who will end up like this will feel pleasantly giddy and become unable to think of anything but the Matango. Who scatter the spore, then naturally head for the Matango to have sex with her, or be guided by the mushroom within them. So it's like a parasitic effect. It's like there's a parasite that exists that invades some insects. It functions like a bit of a worm, and they have this such crazed look on their face, like their eyes are elongated. And they'll just search out for whatever thing that's probably going to kill them. But in this case, this is just spores just turning someone into an absolute, I wouldn't say a zombie, but they're under the control of it. Alright, after capturing a man this way, the Matango will absorb fluids through sexual intercourse. The Matango has taken in enough nutrients will become active, continuing to have intercourse with its prey and sending out even more spores. Those who have sex with the Matango for a long time will have many spores planted in their body. When the mushrooms start growing on the men's outsides, they'll turn into a mushroom person, whose mind is full of thoughts of having sex with the Matango. When reproducing, they can't increase in number of spores alone. In order to give birth to a new Matango, they need to cause a human woman to inhale a spore. If this happens, then the spore will grow inside them just as with the men. The mushroom, having grabbed a part of the woman's mind, will drastically increase their sexual desires, making them attack men and absorb their semen. This makes the mushroom grow rapidly, and it soon changes the woman into a Matango. If a woman in a village breathes in the spores, that village will soon become the village of the Matango. That's kind of scary. It's a very Last of Us situation. Because you know how the cordyceps kind of got people acting a certain kind of way. Furthermore, while it has been presumed that Matangos can't move on their own, recently Matangos have received plenty of nutrients from men, have stopped rooting themselves into the ground. They've been even observed moving by, being carried by the men while having their roots entwined around them. However, they remain joined with their men, and it is said that they continue having sex even in the middle of moving around. Yeah, I'm not feeling this one. Yeah, I'm not feeling that one. All right, we have the Medusa, which is another Lamia. Okay. They possess the ability to cause the body of whoever they make eye contact with to harden like stone. Besides catching prey animals with this ability, they also use it to stop someone from moving so they can drag them back to the lair as their betrothed for reproduction when they find someone that strikes their fancy. They also use this ability during sex. In this case, only the man's limbs are petrified to prevent him from moving. They're likely to restrain them with their snake bites while forcing intercourse. Since they are extremely lonely girls by nature, when they're joined with a man or joined with someone they care about, embracing their arms, they may petrify their arms and legs to prevent them from letting go. After sex is ended, they may even petrify the man's lower region to have sex with him again because they do not want to be separated from him, or so it's said. The vagina of the Medusa can provide the penis with two different types of stimulation. A squeezing that is pleasantly cool like stone, and conversely, a lukewarm feeling when they begin to seek the man even more and squeeze more desperately. The pleasure provided is likely to be more than sufficient to enthrall a man. Living things petrified by their ability to never die from it. It can be healed if the Medusa undoes it herself, or with one of those magic items or medicines circulating through the marketplace. It's also said that if they leave a man petrified without choosing him as a husband, generally before the petrification wears off, another monster starving for a man will carry him off. And just when the petrification wears off, he will find himself having sex with that monster. A Medusa's hair turns into snakes from the middle. Each of them can move freely, but since they share the same will as a Medusa, if she isn't hostile, there's probably no worry of being attacked. Medusa are stubborn and pretty much never show their true feelings, but the snake hairs are different from the main body and reflect their feelings and consciousness as it is. For that reason, their hairs are straightforward, just as the opposite stubborn main body. They'll aggressively wrap themselves around a man and like to snuggle up. So it's possible to discern the true heart of Medusa from the behavior of the snakes. Also, just like the Lamia, they're extremely jealous. If a man were to cheat on a Medusa, he would end up being left petrified for days, with his wife coiled around him and roughly milking him by constantly having sex, so be careful. Basically, don't cheat, motherfucker. Just don't cheat. You should be fine. But now that we know that petrification does wear off depending on the race of monster, it gives us a little bit of leeway. But still, yeah, it seems to put, guys, stop cheating, don't cheat. Unless it was the bicorn, then you're fine, but other than that, don't cheat. Especially when it comes to Lamias, no less, too, because they're very monogamous. Especially when it comes to Lamias. But with the Lamia, I would say, oh, that is true. Yeah, bicorns are, yeah. So, yeah, bicorns are swingers. I'll say the Medusa is a B. One, because, like, I do like the fact that, but I wouldn't say I like the fact that they're clingy, but I like the fact that they have this idea that they don't want to let you go that easily. And if they petrify your lower regions, you're already rock hard. It's like that one picture. Hold on, if I can find it. It's an old comic strip. I forgot what the... Yeah, it's an old comic strip of Medusa versus some black dude. Yeah, that impossible. Why are you doing this? That's this picture. Is this picture in all lights? It's pretty much this. Impossible. Why don't you turn to stone? I'm already rock hard, baby. Rock hard. I even have to know where that even come from too. If someone actually knows what that comic is, I have to really... Maybe someone. Okay. The comic is called Aphrodisiac. Like AFRO. Aphrodisiac. So now we know. We now know what that comic is from. Yes, indeed. Black Dynamite? I'm sorry. We'll stop selling drugs to the community. Instead, we'll sell drugs for the community and give those proceedings to the orphanage down the block where you have your business. Now, Black Dynamite doesn't have to tell you twice. But if I ever see any of you motherfuckers try to do that shit again around my orphanage, I'm gonna give you an ass whooping so far worse than the honkies from the CIA, you are gonna even feel it through those leather from these 13-inch gators. Now, can you dig it? Alright. I think we have enough time in order to do 2 or 3 more, depending on how much we have. And we have the mermaid. The mermaid. A fish-type monster that lives in the ocean, also called Ningyo. They have the most gentle disposition of all monsters. They almost never attack humans aggressively. Most of them appear as hopeless romantics, except for one. And they're always waiting for a man who will become their husband. They appear at beaches on top of the reefs, and dreaming of your unseen princes. They sing in a beautiful voice, I know the one. Their singing voice contains a magical power, I know. And men who hear their songs are completely charmed. Oh yeah, I'm one of them. They get dizzy and are drawn back to them, and they end up having a destined meeting with them as their princess. They are not a race that aggressively attacks humans like other monsters. However, once they do get a man, they're aggressive about sex, and use their monstrous bodies to charm them. They'll strongly charm the man, will probably never let them go. Also, their mermaid's blood has the effect of drastically increasing the lifespan. And it's said that it has this function to make a man's lifespan match her own, because a mermaid's lifespan is longer than a human's. Without exception, their husbands will be made to drink this blood. Hopefully there's a chaser for that. Because of this effect of the mermaid's blood, it's extremely high demand among humans seeking eternal youth and longevity, other monsters who need to extend the lives of their husbands in the same way. The marrow of the same mermaid family is actually the main source of the traded mermaid blood, and its blood is in high circulation among the monsters. However, among the humans, it's quite rare, so there are many humans who are after mermaids for their blood. The mermaid in the illustration on the page on the left isn't wearing anything on their lower body, but normally their vagina is concealed by the scales and can't be seen. When they start having sex with a man, they use magic to get rid of the scales, and the vagina will appear in roughly the same position as a human woman. Since the new demon lord's assumption of power, they've continued to change and adapt to sex, so having sex with a human man is convenient and pleasurable. For that reason, it is not possible for them to lay eggs and spawn the way the ordinary fish do. So, there's a bit of a bias because of a factor. There's a bit of a bias. I'm pretty sure you can take a wild guess. All right, we have the Mero, a type of mermaid that lives in the sea, distinguished by their pink hair and their red cap they wear on their head. They resemble mermaids, and in the same way, they are the same race as friendly towards humans. However, they are different from mermaids in which they have comparably docile personalities. Even among the mermaid families, they are the most lustful race. When they find someone who strikes their fancy, they use their voluptuous bodies to seduce them and aggressively try to initiate sex. Reportedly, even the inside of their heads are pink, and their main interest is sex and romance affairs with human men. They also keep romantic affairs and other sex of other monsters, and they like amorous and obscene discussions. Of course, the thing they enjoy the most of all is spending time with their lovers and having sex. When they've fallen in love with a man from the bottom of their heart, they only have eyes for him, and the focus is sex with him. Just as it would appear from their looks, from having spent sex with them would be tinged with a syrupy sweet. My mind's turned to mush. Time spent having sex with them will be tinged with a syrupy sweet pink pleasure. Also, they always wear the hat when they're unmarried. When they make a marriage proposal to a man who strikes their fancy, they entrust the hat to the man. The hat carries the protection of the sea god Poseidon. Ooh, that's a nice buff. The magical power that they need to live in the ocean. Yep, I'm seeing it too. They lose magical power as they become unable to swim. But then again, they regain it through essence they consume during sex with their husband. In this way, they become entirely dependent on their husbands. It's a strong indication of their will to always be with their husbands and never separate. When a new Mero is born, she is given a hat by Poseidon and the sea bishops who serve her. Since the power sealed in the hat uses her mother's power, the husband must transfer a lot of essence to the mother each time the child is born. Also, in the same way as mermaids, they possess mermaid's blood, which greatly increases the lifespan of those who drink it. The blood is treasured by monsters who need it. Yep. We've read that before. Yep, we've definitely heard about that before. Furthermore, mermaid's blood is a collection from them is different from that of a mermaid, perhaps because of the Mero's disposition. When time passes, the blood will turn pink. And will seem to have decided, yep, this is S. All right, next up, we have 10 minutes left. We have the mer shark. Oh, dear God, it's a little scary, but when has it ever stopped someone? A race of mermaids and the characteristic of sharks. These monsters are extremely ferocious just as they look, which is a rarity of the mermaid family, since most of them have a docile disposition. They have excellent senses to detect humans, and they can accurately pinpoint the specific location of a man hiding in a ship. Jesus Christ! Oh dear Lord. The specific location of a man hiding in a ship. So they have a chance of just barreling through a ship and just kidnapping you. Because their senses are excessively keen in detecting a man's presence, will even cause them to perceive a man's existence so incredibly strongly that they would go wild with lust. If they discover a man who fell into the sea, they will mercilessly snap at him and try to greedily devour the man's body. They don't actually consume such prey, but because of how they look when they attack humans, they are feared as man-eating sharks. They have sharp fangs and jaws, and it's said that they are capable of biting through iron chains and gnawing holes at the bottom of ships. On the other hand, since their fangs contain Mamino mana and have the same properties as Mamino realm silver, they do not injure humans. Those bitten have mana spill out of their body instead of blood. And when a man's mana mixes with their mana, it becomes stained bright red. Instead of a blood spray, a mana spray will stain the sea red. Once bitten, the man will be robbed of mana and feel like he's having his mana gouged out and consumed in his flesh. And consumed instead of his flesh. The instant he is bitten, the man's body will be attacked by a throbbing so violent that's almost enough to render him unconscious. Plus, there is the continuous heat of oozing it. The continuous heat and oozing of mana afterward. So the man will be robbed of his freedom underwater and will be unable to escape from copulation. They prefer to embrace and entwine with each other's bodies as closely as possible during sex, and they'll ride the man wildly as if devouring his penis and becoming welcoming it deeper to their womb. Additionally, their shark skin has rough scales with the same properties as their fangs. When it scrapes against a man during sex, it constantly produces a throbbing and heat throughout his whole body. A man will unable to go out without venting inside them. Among Us! And he'll end up repeatedly ejaculating over and over. Although they are ferocious monsters in this way, they actually have a timid nature, which becomes strikingly apparent after obtaining a husband. During intercourse, they often nibble at their husband's body, but the reason for this behavior is that they dislike when their husband separates his body from theirs. So they're very clingy too. On such occasions, they can be put at ease by head patting or a firm embrace. Also, perhaps because of the age of the former mono lords, their entire body, including their fangs, shark skin, etc., was a deadly weapon for wounding humans other than sex. They treat their husband gently and carefully as if they were a fragile treasure. You could even say they appear overly anxious and will turn their ferocity to anything which could potentially harm their husband. Either overly anxious or overly protective. Furthermore, among the humans who fear them, it is said that the scent of blood draws them near. They actually are sensitive to the scent of human blood, and if there's a human bleeding in sea, they'll swim at full speed. They'll swim there at full speed, even from a faraway location. However, it's not to attack, it's just because they got worried to rush to come and help. Oh, that's nice. So supposedly sometimes they may even show up faster than the sea bishops who save those who are drowning. As scary as they are really nice. They're actually really nice. So let's go with an A tier. And let's take a look at their full body, because it's relatively safe. Yep. And I've heard the shark skin is actually like rubbing against sandpaper. It's like the texture of it is just rubbing against sandpaper. So it's very, very coarse. Don't know what kind of grit, but yeah, you get the idea. The Mimic. I think I can probably hazard this one. Yeah, it's because of the jaws that they got a bad rep, but some of them are actually pretty gentle to be around too. Especially nurse sharks. I know nurse sharks are very gentle to be around because of their disposition. Okay, mimics. Monsters with the ability to set up a trap by mimicking treasure chests. They live in places such as towers and caves. Boy, would Dark Souls kind of give them a bad rep too. Because not only if you don't kill them in time, they will kick the shit out of you. In dungeons that adventurers visit, they blend in among treasure chests and waiting patiently for someone to open it. They have magic that can teleport themselves to other locations. While not sure about their source, they can get information about dungeons that have a lot of traffic, dungeons that have a lot of rare treasures, etc. And even from places even from place to place based on that information. Since they may rarely slip into houses or castles, one should never let their guard down, even when treasure chests are outside dungeons. That's why you should always hit your treasure chest first. When a human who will become their prey opens the treasure chest, the mimic will leap out with great force and startle the individual. Then use a charm or binding spell to seal their movements. Then, as if to present themselves as a treasure chest, and show themselves off from the individual, undoing the ribbon and exposing their naked body. Surprise! They'll offer the body to the man along with plenty of pleasure, while making out his essence to feed on. If the man will distract their fancy, they'll be dragged inside the treasure chest. One being dragged inside the treasure chest will disappear somewhere, and the only thing remaining will be an empty treasure chest. According to one explanation, the inside of the treasure chest is a space they have created with magic that exists within a different dimension. It is said that they will continue to have sex together alone in that place, where they will not be disturbed by anyone. Their weak point is the keyhole of the treasure chest. If a key corresponding with the keyhole were to be inserted before the mimic jumps out, she would be spit off from the chest, and the chest she was within the world that she was within would disappear in a flash of light. Due to the disappearance of the chest, the mimic will lose her magical energy and become completely powerless. It will probably be possible to capture. However, thus far, a key corresponding to the keyhole has not been discovered. It said that even when the skilled thief attempted to pick the lock, it still would not open. However, on one occasion, there was a man who succeeded in unlocking the chest by inserting some kind of pole-shaped object other than a key into the keyhole. According to that man, the moment he unlocked it, the mimic clung to him, and for some reason, he ended up being joined with her. The mimic became very submissive, and she would do anything he asked, so he took her home with him. However, she may have needed to replenish her demonic energy that she had lost with essence, as she was far more lustful than an ordinary mimic. As she was always wanting to offer her body to the man, it said that she even ended up begging him to ravish her. It could likely be said that the man literally obtained a mimic just by unlocking the treasure chest that the mimic was inside. Now, I wonder what that pole-shaped object was. I guess we all know that answer at some point. Yeah, and he holds the goal. Indeed it is. And we're right before the Mind Flayer 2, but we have to call it a day here. We have to call it a day. And we also have the Mothman. No! We got a good Friday coming up. So, the A to Z project will definitely be extended for sure. It will definitely be extended. All right, let's go back. We could collapse down here. So let's tally up, and we'll see how this is pretty much tallied up. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have 4 S pluses. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, six S's. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9, 10, and 11. 11 A's. Yeah, it was good, Max. Yeah, that's pretty much the best way to kind of get yourself out of a sticky situation. Always have like some sort of dagger that cuts mana instead.
Register that as a new quest on the list.
So you should be able to get yourself out of that situation pretty fast too. So we're just ending the stream here and there. So thanks everybody for stopping on by. And scramble. Ooh, nice. What specific? Yeah. That is the case. Well, let me turn off this here. Oh, I'm actually looking forward to seeing that.
That is a new quest on the list.
I'm looking forward to seeing the custom they have in mind too. So, if you got any pictures and if you have any pictures of the process, you send them my way too. If you have the means to. But I'm gonna catch y'all guys and gals later. Hope you have a wonderful day. And we're almost to the weekend, so thank goodness. So, hope you all had a so I'll see who I can raid in the meantime. Until then, peace out.